So, I'm telling you, this was if nothing, if you don't believe in miracles, still I don't know what else to call it. Honestly speaking, because suddenly from zero work to be able to deliver, we must have done about 4-5 lakh masks in the last 6 months.
Hi, hello, namaste to all my listeners. I'm your host, Sarthak Varshney, and I welcome you all to the Balls of Steel show, where you get an insight into the business mindset of the entrepreneurs. Dhandho Ni Soch. So, our today's guest is Miss Kameswari Devi Kumar. Hi, Kameswari.
Hey Sarthak, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Pretty
Thank
interesting.
you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming in, Kameswari, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. But first, tell me, Pongal is coming. What is going on?
Pongal, we are trying to cook some nice sweet khichdi.
Nice, sweet
So Pongal,
khichdi.
so basically the North Indian khichdi cooked in the South Indian sweet style becomes the Pongal. So it's like dal and chawal cooked together with lot of sugar and dry fruits. So बस वही बनाने
Oh
की कोशिश
my
कर रहे हैं.
God. Lots of dal and chawal cooked with dry fruits. सोचना पड़ेगा खाने से पहले. But since अगर नीचे साउथ इंडिया में बन रही है तो I'm pretty sure tasty होगी.
It's
I'm
very
pretty sure.
delicious.
यार अब आप
It's
ऐसे
very
टेम्प्ट मत करो
delicious.
मुझे प्लीज, वरना मैं आपको बोलूंगा कि प्लीज बना के मेरे को कोरियर करवा देना दिल्ली.
करवा देंगे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है साथ में वैसे आपको हम वो कड़वाहट वाली चीजें भी फिर भेजेंगे थोड़ा थोड़ा
ओह
खैर
माय गॉड, कोई
so,
बात नहीं, चलेगा, वो भी चलेगा, मुझे कुछ कड़वी चीजें पसंद आती है खाने में. सो आई विल लुक फॉरवर्ड टू इट.
हाँ
Not an issue, not an issue. That's great, yeah. So, Kavitri, why don't you tell me what is the business that you are into, because of which we are gonna say that you have got the balls of steel.
so this is I am not very sure Sarthak if I really call it a business
Mm-hmm.
because in my understanding of non-business background is business involves a lot of money making. Our
Mm-hmm.
business is basically focused more on making lives. And when I say that, our purpose is to basically ensure people with disabilities, their family members, and
Mm-hmm.
women from rural areas who live in distressful conditions, like surviving alcohol abuse on a day-to-day basis, domestic abuse, domestic violence, all that kind of stuff, and yet
Right.
uh, compelled to earn a livelihood to support their families. So, what we are striving to do is ensure these set of people from villages which are about 50, 60 kilometers away from Bangalore have a
Right.
livelihood. So, in the whole process, because we are dealing with not educated, not technically skilled population, we are making handcrafts. Now, these
Okay.
handcrafts are sold. So that way, yes, we are into business, but the whole purpose of this business is to ensure those families have continued income. So that way, this is, in my mind, a slightly different sort of a game.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I mean, it does take a lot of effort and grit to ensure it's a sustainable activity, because if this isn't there, those 25 people that are working with us would not have any income at all. So
Right.
yes, there is grit. I mean, your to use your parlance, balls of steel is definitely required. But
Right.
yeah, but Dhandho Ni Soch is something that I have yet to reach.
Okay. Okay. I hope that somewhere we are also able to help you, with all these help these women have a better life. I really look forward to it sometime in future. And yes, somewhere when we talk about Dhandho Ni Soch, we are able to help everyone and help you also develop that Dhandho Ni Soch and have more sustainable business for every one of these women to grow and make their lives better and do our bit into it. So basically, if we talk about, you are a social entrepreneur, right?
Yes, you can call me that.
Okay, that's great. So that puts me in a position, Kameswari, where there's a lot to learn and talk to you. Uh, Not on the basis of Dhandho Ni Soch, I would say, but on the basis of social entrepreneurship. So
Mhm.
before we dive, into the full journey of yours and talk about it, Uh, why don't you first enlighten me with your perspective of social entrepreneurship and what do you think about social entrepreneurship all over together about it in a broad picture if I talk.
So, see, social entrepreneurship for me is, like I said, for me, it's those people. If I have to speak about how did I become a social entrepreneur, I never meant to become one. I was not
Hmm.
even thinking about it or wanting to become one. It is just that there was the situation where a set of 10, 15, artisans were going out of job and they were going to lose their only livelihood. And we just did not have a choice, I guess. We just came together and we said, let's do it. So for me, being a social entrepreneur is to ensure that those set of 10, 15 artisans that we started with, plus additionally more number of artisans if we can include, if not, even if it is not like a readily available skilled artisan, but if we can even build their capability and we are able
Hmm.
to bring about even a minuscule change in their lives. So,
Right.
to contextualize it, when we started off, we had these set of people who were earning about 3 to 4,000 rupees a month, and
Okay.
with the, even if it is a rural area, 3 to 4,000 is how much? And they usually have big families, 6 to 8 people in a family. And even their, day to day food becomes a challenge. Even with the
Right.
ration that they get from the government, they still need sugar, salt, ये सब तो खरीदना ही पड़ता है.
Right.
So, so that minuscule change. So, slowly over a period of time, we have been able to bring that income up to about 8, 9,000 a month. For me, that
Right.
is what being a social entrepreneur means. To give another example,
Hmm.
among our artisans, we have two women who are a little advanced in the age. And when I say that, they're above 50 and they are obviously not very highly skilled and their learning abilities are much slower. But if I'm a regular entrepreneur, I would have thought of retiring them probably or asking them
Right.
not to continue. But here is my challenge. To speak of one of the women, her name is Lakshmama.
Okay.
She is 50 plus. I mean, none of us know what their real ages are because they don't have any sort of documentation. कि कब उनका
Okay.
जन्म हुआ था, कोई जन्म पत्री, nothing. So we're just guessing they are
Oh.
50 plus. Yeah, that's
Okay.
interesting. I mean, they don't know which year they were born in. They don't know which, month, nothing. So they don't have any history of their births. Anyway, so
Okay.
this woman was married
Hmm.
when she was very young, when she was about 13 years old. She had
Oh.
4 kids, of which she lost two even before they were, beyond 5 years of age. So she had two
Hmm.
surviving kids. One daughter got
Right.
married, and unfortunately, she committed suicide, one of those, farmer suicide related issues, left behind a daughter. So this lady is left with a
Okay.
granddaughter. Now, the only son she
Oh.
had, who was her only income generating member of the entire family because her
Right.
husband also passed away. Again, similar issue, the agriculture related suicide issues.
Right.
And her only son passed away about 2 years ago. He just dropped
Oh.
dead. There was no ailment, there was nothing. He just dropped on the spot. So you tell me, she has no income, no family to
Mm-hmm.
support her, no son to take care of. There's a granddaughter who has unfortunately developed a lesion in her mouth which needs to be operated, which requires about 2 lakhs of money. You tell me, how do
Mm-hmm.
I take her out of job? Right? So that is where the difference between entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur is for me. That is how I look at it. Like similar story with the other lady, the a lady who is 50 plus. Her son is a drunkard, doesn't work. She has grandchildren with disabilities. Her daughter-in-law cannot work, so she's the only member who is earning, and this is the only skill she knows. And she can't really step
Right.
out of the village also because if she goes for long hours and travels, these villages are from any nearby town, it is about 1.5 hours bus drive. These are that remote
Okay.
villages. So you tell me, how does one think of taking them out of job? So that is the
Mm-hmm.
difference for me between a regular entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship. When we are working
Mm-hmm.
with the society in the social circumstances and we are trying to run an enterprise, then this is our challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Dhandho Ni Soch comes first or whether people come first, right? Do I
Mm-hmm.
focus on making money or do I focus on making just enough money to sustain these people?
Right.
So I think for me, that is social enterprise for me means where I am able to ensure that those people who are engaged with us, who do not have any other opportunity to earn a livelihood, have not just a
Mm-hmm.
livelihood, but a sustained one, and at the same
Mm-hmm.
time that there is some incremental change in their incomes as well. It's not just
Right.
chalo, we are able to give them 5 6,000 and there's some, because it's not just sustaining their 3 times meal or 2 times meal or whatever. It is a little beyond. They have to educate their children. The children need not live in the same circumstances. They don't need to
Mm-hmm.
go back and get into similar kind of work. We have people
Right.
who have young kids, they're in their early college days, and there was a situation where one of our artisan had to consider taking her daughter out of college and putting her for work because there was the money that was coming in was not sufficient. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's that, a social entrepreneurship is about ensuring those families have a sustained livelihood. Plus, they're able to think of a little bit more so that their social status can actually improve. They need not live in the same circumstances that they have been for generations. That, I hope, has answered your question.
Yes, that has answered a lot of stuff. So yes. Okay, okay.
I hope I
All
did
the way.
not change the sequence of your questions
There's
and
no
confuse you
sequence.
totally.
There is
No,
no
just kidding.
sequence. That is the, speciality. We don't have a sequence. We just
Correct.
go with the flow. Okay.
Great. Hmm.
So I mean, you already started. This just makes me feel a bit emotional and somewhere touches deep down, and it's already putting me in the phase. I knew that I would have got into that phase, but thoda later on, but it just started and I'm already
Sorry.
getting there. No, you don't have to be sorry.
I am
It's like
sorry.
no, no, you don't have to be sorry. But it's definitely something very amazing which you're doing out there. Okay, so keeping the emotions for on side right now, getting back
Please.
on the track. Kameswari, why don't you, enlighten me with your journey from the very beginning till the current point at which you are?
Okay, that's interesting. I am basically unqualified disability professional. And when I say that, what I mean is I do not have any
Uh,
qualification to make me a disability profession. It was more out of passion or
okay.
interest. I'm basically a BA English Literature LLB graduate. And I don't know.
BA English Literature LLB. Let me digest that for one. BA English Literature LLB. यहाँ पे दो तीन चीजें आ गई कैसे मतलब आप LLB भी हो आप BA English भी हो क्या क्या हो
Khichdi. So,
ओके
qualification wise, I have no background in disability, but like
हाँ
I have had a lot of family connections with people with disabilities involved. So, probably that was like something that came up. So, when I come from a very small town in Odisha, it's called Rourkela.
okay
And when I got married, I moved to Bangalore. There was
okay
a sea change between the two kinds of places, and I am married to a IT professional. So I'm sure
hmm
half the world today understands the life of IT professional. It's like 16 to 18 hours work, and family
right
is there. And
right
uh, and I was always a very active, like socially. I always had huge gatherings around me, like huge groups of friends and all
hmm
sorts of activities. So, as a young girl, I was like probably active in social life, I guess.
okay
We had. I was in Red Cross. I was in. We started something called a Dreamers Club, a chapter of it, and so a lot
hmm
of stuff happening that way. So when I
hmm
came to Bangalore, I had absolutely nothing to do, and I was looking around for some sort of a engagement to keep myself occupied. When
hmm
the Infosys Foundation, I had written to Infosys Foundation. My husband was with Infosys at that time,
right
and I requested Infosys Foundation to kind of allow me to volunteer with them
right
because their activities were very far distance, so they suggested something local in Bangalore. And out of the three choices they gave me, one happened to be a blind school, and I jumped on it.
okay
I think that's how
okay
my journey began, and from a volunteer, I became a professional. I
okay
started working in disability organizations. I have worked in about three, four very big disability organizations in Bangalore. I mean, they are across world. The offices were in Bangalore.
right
So during the journey with one of the organizations that I was engaged in,
right
we were supposed to think of kind of an activity, something to do with dry waste, but not
okay
collection and disposal. That was my challenge. At least the donor posed that question and said, Kameshwari, can you suggest something that we can do with dry waste, which is not
right
just collection, disposal, and so it was basically a drive. This
okay
environmental month usually corporates do those drives a lot. And being
right
probably a woman, the natural instinct was arts and crafts. So मैंने कहा, why don't we do some kind of products using the dry waste
hmm
and try and provide livelihood to people. That's where
right
the whole concept started. And I think back then I was an employee still. This was about 7 years ago. and
right
and yes, so we started off. The donor actually liked it, and they funded it. We started off. We
okay
established groups. Yes, we established groups. We did some skilling. So basically, we started working with paper. We started working with fabric discards and all that stuff, and then we came up with certain products and all that. Then I had a change. I mean, I moved from that organization to another organization for some personal reasons. And that
right
particular groups that we initiated stayed with the original organization. But So basically, like I was saying a few minutes ago, running these groups and running a
Mm-hmm.
business with this kind of focus requires a different
Mm-hmm.
kind of approach altogether. It's not
Right.
like key if you're getting some money, then only you can run the groups. There are months when you
Right.
don't have any business, and still the monthly requirements of those families is still there. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
always easy for anyone to actually be able to run such groups and work with such teams. So the organization had to kind of take a decision of letting go of the groups. That is when about
Mm-hmm.
3.5 years back, the groups came back to me and said, we are in this predicament. What do we do? And that's when we said,
Right.
establish an entity ourselves. It was not an easy journey
Okay.
at all because,
Right.
like I said, I am a BLLB graduate. So obviously,
Right.
there's no creativity involved except maybe
Right.
playing words. Then
Right.
I have been a disability professional, which meant again, like no creativity, nothing to do with creativity or business. I was into
Right.
skilling and all that stuff. Then,
Mm-hmm.
so basically, no business background at all. My father is an
Okay.
author and all that stuff, so no business background. So that was the biggest
Okay.
challenge, first challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what an entity, what it takes to start an entity and run it. Second,
Right.
there was no money. When we
Right.
started off, we had 15 artisans on board who had to be paid on a daily basis, zero orders, zero raw materials, and zero money to start.
Right.
It took a lot of things, took a lot of things from my own savings were gone, my all my PF money gone, my salary went into this. So I continued working for another 2 years
Mm-hmm.
after registering the organization because I had to make sure there was cash flow coming even if there's no business. Uh,
Right.
I sold off all my gold. My husband gave some money. He broke his savings, and that went in. So it is still in that process, to be honest. We are still not in a
Okay.
position where we are cash surplus. We are never cash surplus. We are always cash deficit. So,
Right.
so the journey has been going on like that so far. Uh,
Right.
I think we have completed 3 years of existence, so which means that we can now apply for a ATG, and I don't know if that works out. Then probably we'll be slightly better off.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I mean that is the journey so far. Started off 7 years ago, 3.5 years ago, full time. For the last 1.5 years, I have quit my job, and now I'm 100% into this. That's where we are.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, before I actually dive into my, thought process of knowing your thought process,
Hmm.
okay, why don't you tell me more about your childhood and your life back at Orissa?
Okay. Childhood.
Yeah.
So my parents are originally from Andhra,
Okay.
which and very remote villages in Andhra. So essentially, which means that they had no a knowledge of Oriya or even Hindi. My mother never spoke even decent Hindi. She doesn't speak Hindi. I mean, she speaks manageable Hindi even today, but she never picked up the language.
Right.
So I was born
Okay.
into a family like that, completely cut off from the roots. So we had
Uh,
absolutely no touch with Andhra. So my mother, my father, and no other
uh,
family except our neighbors and our, the Telugu community that was there in Rourkela, which became our extended family.
okay.
So as a child, I am told that I was very mischievous, always on the move. Uh,
Okay.
Yes, I have an older brother. The
Okay.
age gap between the two of us isn't much. Uh,
Right.
so he was so basically my brother is was born with congenital heart disease. I think that is where the whole you know the how should I put it, like the whole mentality is that like how can I help
Mm.
people who are in trouble, health wise or whatever. So my
Right.
brother was always a sick child, but I always took him and we just were on the run, on the go all the time. And
Right.
yeah, I was chubby, I was naughty, I was mischievous, very curious, very socially active, as in, I think from a very young age, orphanages attracted
Mm.
me a lot. There used to
Wow.
be an
Okay.
orphanage very close to my house, and I remember spending a lot of time there. Nothing, just playing with the kids, but spending a lot of time there.
Okay.
So, yeah, and parents were like mom was a housewife, father was a I mean, he was a a personal secretary. I should put it that way, I guess.
Okay.
In the so basically into the administrative department of the steel plant.
Okay.
Father was an author, is still an author actually. He still writes.
Oh wow.
That was our literary connect. So probably the affinity to picking up English literature over any other subjects.
Mm-hmm.
I think even in college I was president of the college and I was unanimously selected apparently, no
Wow.
contest. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's it. Sports, I was very active. I used to play a lot of sports and
Uh,
karate and all that stuff. So basically, a tomboy. I think in
okay.
this, yeah, you can call me a tomboy. Always on the road, always on the move. I think my first stint of forming an organization was when I was in, I think, third year of my college. No,
Uh,
the first year itself, actually, I'll tell you
oh
how.
my God.
Yes, so what
Great.
happened was there used to be this an organization called Dreamers. Yeah, it was called The Dreamers actually in Bhubaneswar, where
Right.
used to conduct all these, the cultural fests for colleges and all that stuff.
Yes. 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 Yes.
The first year I went as a participant. Take a guess what I participated in. It was a group discussion competition. Failed
Okay.
miserably. On the
Okay.
stage, I froze. I just
Okay.
froze. The mic came to my hand, and I said, "My name is Kameswari." And then I said, "Okay, I don't know what else to say. I'm really sorry." And I passed on the mic.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay.
And though I failed in the competition, I started a chapter
Uh,
of it in Rourkela. We had a huge
okay.
group of 100 students, 100 plus students actually, and we conducted inter-college fests and all for the next 3, 4 years. And yeah, so that's what. So I failed in the competition, but I formed an entity
Right.
to kind of run the competitions. So
That's great. That's great.
yeah, so that's what it was. So
Mm,
I was into a lot of literary stuff, would write poetry, and yeah, I was.
mm.
But yeah, I went on to be a good presenter of poetries later. I don't know how that happened.
Definitely from your father.
Definitely. But from failing in a group discussion competition to be able to recite poetry on a stage is
Uh,
something I feel. I don't know. So yeah, it was from the father. It is genetic disorder, I guess.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how I was as a child, young adult, got married, came to Bangalore. In
Right.
Bangalore, I think I've already said what I have done. I started volunteering.
Yeah.
I worked for 20 years almost in disability organizations. Now I'm an
Okay.
accidental entrepreneur.
Accidental entrepreneur. I like the way you put that up. Accidental entrepreneur.
It was an accident. It was totally an accident. I wasn't looking for it. No one thought I can be an
Huh,
entrepreneur. Even now, I don't know if I can be an entrepreneur. But we are running an entity, and we are not
right,
doing too bad as of now. So let's see.
right.
Each day as it comes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Each day as it comes. Carpe diem.
Yes.
Oh yes, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, so there's a lot to your story. I see. I see. I mean, I'm enjoying the story so much that I'm somewhere losing my track of questions. Okay, okay, what am I gonna ask you? Okay. No, honestly,
See, I told
you're.
you I'm confusing you.
No, no, no. You're not confusing me. See, the point is that when I'm talking to anyone, no, so there's this thought process that completely goes. And what I really like about how you have told me the story is you all, as in it feels like you knew it when I told you that Kameshwari, I'm going to talk about your mindset. So you're already telling me the mindset. See, Sarthak, I picked up
No, it's
my I picked up my writing skills from my father. Okay, I'm like, okay, done.
not.
Okay, well,
To be
हाँ
honest, Sarthak, आपने जो questionnaire भेजा ना, I opened it
हाँ
like 5 minutes before. I'm sorry about that.
अरे वो क्वेश्चन यार होगा भी तो नहीं. When I tell you, those are just for sample questions. I don't even know how many people do I ask those questions. Those are just for reference.
Okay.
That they don't even matter.
Yeah.
What really matters is that the conversation is always candid. Okay, but you see how I'm going blank in my questions right now. That is the candidness. Right. But nevertheless, I still have my stuff, my gig with me. So I see that you started very early, and the major thing that is coming hitting me again and again is your love for the orphanage that you had at such an early age. And the way you've mentioned it to me that you used to go out to just play with the kids there and that you were very naughty and mischievous. So I believe that it was majorly for the playing fun that you get to play, if I'm not
Uh,
wrong to say.
I'll tell you what, Sarthak. I think,
Ha,
more than just, love. Okay, let me kind of rephrase that what I just said with the orphanage. Yes, at one
uh-huh,
age it was about games and play and fun and all that stuff. But
right.
I think from a very young age, somehow I had this huge amount of affinity and love for people around me. So it didn't matter if it was a child from the orphanage or a auntie, uncle from the neighborhood. I'm always there playing with them. If it pleases them, I'm playing with them. So
Hmm.
I think it was more to do with, I even now, I think my biggest weakness is this whole love for people. I just love people. I just love.
Right,
So it
right. I
was
wouldn't call
more.
it a weakness, but
Uh,
ठीक है आप बोलो.
it was more for that love and affection that was flowing between us as kids or whatever with those children in the
Mhm.
orphanage. Uh,
Right.
I remember there used to be these tiny little infants, and I would just go and, want to bathe them and feed them and all that stuff. So it was not all game and fun, it was more than that.
Mhm.
But then there was this. Natural attraction for me. So, see, even in college, when I could have easily had fun with friends going out and all that, other
Mhm.
than studies, which I was very, very bad at, the only thing that I did was organize health camps and volunteering activities. And even in school, I used to go and there was this one Abhiyan. I don't know if you would know about it. I mean,
Um,
this was way before your time. This was
okay.
Saksharata Abhiyan, the adult
No,
learning program that was initiated, which
no,
resulted
I
in
don't know.
Kerala's, yes, which resulted in Kerala's 100% literacy at that time. I'm talking
Okay.
about 80s.
I wasn't even born. Let's.
That is why I said this is way before your time, Sarthak. Okay, so
Right.
so there was this whole program for dance literacy, and
Uh-huh.
whatever time I had, so schools se seedha I used to go to these slums where the maids were. So all we had to do was teach them to how to write their names, how to sign
Mm.
their names, and how to operate a bank account. They should know the numbers so that they know. So basically, 1 to 10 and ABCD, the local language, of course, and
Right.
sign, write their name in their own, instead of angutha cha, write it down.
Right.
I used to
Right.
do that. I mean, there was no need. Nobody told me to do that. And that was not just fun, Sarthak. It was not just for the play, though there were kids
No, it
there as
is
well.
good.
But
Right.
yeah, so it was like that. So I think it was, I don't know where that came from. I would love to blame the genes there as well, because I think one of my
Right.
grandfathers used to be a freedom fighter and all that. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess.
Now that we are getting there, no, this is where we're getting at because all this while there's only one thing. Okay, let me put this in the question itself.
Hmm,
So, I don't know if you've heard this or not. Probably you would have definitely heard it. We say that the child's brain, you can mold a child's brain in his early 7 years. I have read this
yeah.
somewhere. Okay,
Yes.
and in his early 7 years, whatever you feed him, he learns that very quickly and he picks that up. So all this while with what you have told me, I totally get those natural instincts of helping people, loving people, and where that comes from, because I can relate to it. Not that I do love people, but I have a major instinct towards business, right?
Correct.
So and I have that reliability factor there, but I
Correct.
also know where that comes from. So if I talk about you,
Hmm.
I want you to tell me more about and go back way back in time. You've already told me that your parents shifted from Andhra to Odia,
Hmm.
sorry, Andhra Pradesh to Odisha, not Odia. Odia is the language. So
Yes.
from Andhra Pradesh to Odisha, and there were huge loss of language, and there were language barriers and stuff. But still, what did they teach you? What did they tell you in your early years that you remember, which for because of which we can say that and I can say that that developed your mind towards helping people like this. What was there?
Hmm. Well,
Yes. Well.
I think so. I'll tell you what. My mother.
Yeah.
See, this doesn't happen like a classroom session, right?
No,
It
it
is
doesn't.
not,
It doesn't.
yes. So it is what you're observing around and what you're seeing
Exactly.
and how.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yes.
basically, there were a few things in my family.
Uh-huh.
Um, my mother, who did not know even a letter other than Telugu when she came to Rourkela, I
Right.
remember when we were small kids, okay,
Right.
there was a power cut.
Okay.
And and I think there was something to do with the transformer or something, and she had to go and give a
Okay.
complaint in that electricity office, where you say ki bhaiya there is no current, and
Right. 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 Right.
imagine a woman who does not know the language actually goes
Mm.
there and communicates it so effectively that the linesman comes and repairs it in half an. And
My
you know
goodness.
what she
Okay.
said? You know what she said?
What she said.
She said, no current. No, nothing. No,
Uh,
I think, wait. Let me recollect this properly. She goes
right.
there
Right.
and she says, it is summer, I believe. And she's
Uh,
carrying me, she's holding my hand, dragging me, and we're there, and she's saying, current? No. Fan? No. बाप रे and she's shaking her hands like this, and saying हम गर्मी से मर रहे हैं.
oh my
I
God.
mean, it was so
Uh,
hilarious. I mean, I don't think I can. I mean, I don't remember that exactly scenic wise, but we kept talking
uh,
about it all our life. So
oh my
one
God.
is her ability to communicate with her surroundings. Uh,
Hmm.
with the people around even without knowing the language or the people or even the culture.
right,
Korea culture is
right.
so different from Andhra culture. The
Mm-hmm.
second is like, so basically because, see, Rourkela is a fairly big city and there weren't too many
Yes,
families around. Uh,
right.
and they were like far apart. It was not like there was a Telugu family in the neighborhood or across the street. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember there was this one maid who used to speak, a beggar woman who used to speak Telugu. So
Right.
my mother and grandmother would actually welcome her inside the house, feed her,
Okay.
and have a conversation in Telugu.
Oh, okay.
The next thing that I remember very strongly is because
Right.
my mother is also a very socially, she's very socially affiliated person. She needs people around her. She was born into a
Right.
big family with some six brothers and she and another sister. So she was used to
Mm-hmm.
people, in a small village. So the whole village was her
Uh-huh.
family. And here
Right.
suddenly not a single person around. So she
Right.
would actually take the trouble of inviting people over on the weekends. I mean, she would keep the
Mm-hmm.
door open. कोई भी आ सकता है. And the
Right.
kitchen stove will be on. Continuously food
Oh.
cooking will be going on, snacking, chai ban rahi hai, and like, the whole day there'll be people. And this ended up becoming annual event. In the month of Kartik, we used to hold
Uh-huh.
something called Santarpana or Van Bhoj.
Okay.
छोटे से घर होते थे हमारे, they were not big. And
Right.
like our my father's income was also like what when he started working, he was earning 52 rupees or something, and his
My
last
God.
pay
Okay.
package was 12,000 rupees when he retired.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was not like it was a very affluent family, but my
Mm.
mom would actually hold these one bhoj where she would invite everybody, Telugus, Oriyas, Chut, Achut, no distinction. And there would be at least
Mm.
300 people feeding on that one day in my house. And
Oh
the
my
kind of work
goodness.
that goes into it. No cooks. It was mom cooking, me, my brother, and my father doing all the chopping, cutting, washing, dishes, everything. So it
Mm.
was like that. I think it was all these socially affiliated activities. And my father, like I said, being an author, was always socially very active. He took the trouble of learning Oriya. Can you believe it? He started writing in Oriya.
My God. Okay.
Someone who didn't know any other language other than English and Telugu,
Mm.
he not
Mm.
only learned the language, speaking, and all that. By the time he left Rourkela, which was
Mm.
I think about 30 years later, he was
Okay.
writing in Oriya. He was translating stories from Oriya to Telugu, and he was
Oh.
working. Yes, so that way. So I think again, even if this whatever little bit of Dhandho Ni Soch if I have to talk about, isn't like income expense kind understanding is also all because of my mom. She's a self
Right.
out, but she was such a finance manager, finance minister of India needs to learn from her. I'm telling you. With
Okay.
52 rupees, not a
Right.
single loan taken. Okay,
Mm.
12,000 rupees उनका पापा का retired salary, retirement salary, no other
Huh.
backup money, no property, nothing. Mom built a house in the villages. In my village, sorry,
What?
in the village. Yeah, we built a house. They have their own house today. And this was like several years ago. I'm talking, the house was built some 15 years ago. She did it.
Oh,
She achieved it. She married me with gold. Okay.
my
And
goodness.
and we had of course we couldn't buy probably a chocolate every day, but we never
Huh.
had any हमको कभी ऐसा लगा नहीं कि there is deficiency, what is this, ऐसा लगा नहीं हमको. So we were brought up quite well. And you know how she
Right.
did that? She did that
Why,
by
huh?
selling koila. We were in Rotterdam.
Oh.
We were in Rourkela Steel Plant. Rourkela Steel Plant
Right.
used to supply coal, family को free मिलता था.
Ha.
Because we did not need it, we had an electrical stove and a gas connection. She would accumulate it, sell it, and with that money, she did all of it.
My goodness. That
Yes,
is
I
very.
remember. I remember एक एक करके when I was in fifth or sixth, she bought me my first gold ear stud. And from there till my marriage, whatever gold she gave me, I didn't get like
Ha.
kilos and quintals of gold, but
Ha.
whatever
Ha.
like I got was because of her sense of money saving and money management.
That was
That's all it
amazing.
is, I think. And her social, affinity and all that. I think it was all, like you say, it is all that. Love for people was probably from there, definitely. And yeah, I mean, when you see your own family members going through a lot of things, like my brother, for example, he was
Right.
sick every month because he had a heart ailment.
Right.
So he would fall sick for a week, he would be bedridden, and we
Hmm.
all used to take care of him. So I used to see him suffer a lot. My own maternal uncle was polio afflicted.
Okay.
So I have seen his life, I mean, his struggles and, the social discrimination he underwent, the suicidal attempts that he undertook because of that. And so I've seen all that. And my grandfather was bedridden. He was paralyzed and on bed for 7 years. My grandmother was blinded because of diabetes. So when you see all this, it kind of, I guess, and unfortunately, I'm not very money minded. Money has never been a attraction for me. So I think
Hmm.
this was what was driving me through my life, where if I can ensure, so my maternal uncle, I'll put it as my inspiration for the disability work, because I would think
Right.
if I can be that drop in the ocean.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a very small thing to be, but even if I'm the drop in the ocean that contributes or that ensures that another person with disability is not driven to commit suicide because of his social or physical issues, I think I would have
Hmm.
lived my life. That probably was my driving force. Yeah, I think I'm
Wow.
going to the emotional stuff again. Let me stop.
नहीं 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 अभी तो मैं इमोशनल नहीं हो रहा बट आई एम एक्चुअली एंजॉयिंग दिस पार्ट because honestly, these details. Okay, I'll tell you.
Hmm.
So when I say that, I love talking about the mindset. This is where the mindset gets framed, and
Correct.
I'm glad that exactly I asked you a question and you have told all of this thing because now I can very clearly see, where and how has this chemistry formed. I can very, very well see that because firstly, I really want to applaud your mom, for selling the coal number one, organizing
Yes.
that huge bhoj, ठीक है, that being number two, and उसके बाद the financial manager, management, yes, that is very, very amazing, and the way she communicated. Oh my God. I mean, when you were telling that thing, I was imagining the situation in my head. Okay, like this powerhouse near my place because I've been there quite some times for, this filing of the bills and stuff. But I was actually imagining like a mom dragging the child and then communicating. So I can, oh my God. And this act which you actually mentioned is, I mean, she got in a Telugu woman and fed her just to talk to her. So
Yeah.
this affinity actually comes from all these things. Now this is very much clear, and listeners, this is something that I would want to point out very, very directly, clearly, transparently, and जितने भी साफ सफेद शब्द हो सकते हैं सब में जाए, that your mindset gets framed from the family and your surroundings, and this is
Yeah.
how it works. This
It
is
does.
exactly how it works, that you see everything, observe everything, and I guess this is the reason they say that in the early first 7 8 years is where your molding happens, and I can very clearly see that all this love for people that Kameswari has, which she says, which comes naturally, is this is the reason that such huge boards that have been organized, and how a mother. So Kameshwari, why I'll I emphasize more on this is because I don't know if you have read these books. I don't even remember, but I've read it in some book where it talked about uh, having to know more people. So let's say there was this thing which was quoted in the book. If I'm not wrong, so it was this book only, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, in which
Mhm.
it mentioned that when you go out somewhere, right, in a foreign land or a foreign country,
Mhm.
having to see someone from your native country is like that, feeling, oh my God, I know
Tell me
you.
about it. Tell me
Right.
about it.
So
Yeah.
that is exactly what I can feel when you're telling me that, what your mom went through and that excitement to talk to that woman. I can
Yes.
clearly
Or they
feel
used to
that.
force feed her lunch. They wouldn't just let go. If they just give her like a chapati or a little rice, she will go away,
Uh-huh.
right? So they would just
Right,
bring
right.
her in and make her sit and khao na, thoda aur le lo na.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
My
it used to be
goodness.
such hilarious situation, you know.
I can imagine. मतलब हमारा हॉस्पिटैलिटी है बट यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा है.
This is like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. My grandmother would always recall and say that that woman
हाँ,
would be like, after a point, apparently, that she
हाँ.
stopped coming towards our lane. She said, I'm not
Oh,
coming there because I have to stay there for half an hour, 45 minutes.
oh,
So my
my goodness.
grandmother used to make fun of my mother that way. Like, you fed her
My
so much, she
goodness.
ran away.
My goodness, yeah, this is such a noble act. But yes, this is totally understandable. That feeling of knowing someone and that urge to talk to, because at
Yes,
the end, this actually proves that we are human beings and we are emotional beings and we need someone in the social
absolutely.
circle.
Absolutely. No doubt about that.
So
I think
this
I
actually,
remember,
yes,
sorry. Yeah, no, I
please,
was saying
please, please.
that so being this, married to IT guy, I had to travel to US, and I remember I could feel my mom's pain for once in life. I mean, it wasn't that I am fairly well educated.
Uh,
I mean, I know English, and we were in the
right,
US, so I knew the language, and yet, so I could
right.
actually feel her pain when I went to the US, and I had to sit in the house with just books for about 6, 7 months. I went crazy.
Oh, so now I also know how does Kameswari know such good English and such good Hindi when she speaks, and how come she's able to crack such amazing jokes. I get it now. Okay, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, so this is another thing which was missing from the pieces, the
Mhm.
US trip. Yes, now I have
Yes.
more pieces.
Yeah, yeah, we did stay in the US, but unfortunately, I think my husband's biggest regret would be marrying me because
Right.
two reasons actually, I'll tell you. One, he
Uh,
was actually asked to stay in the US. They said you can live there for years and get your whatever citizenship, etc., etc., give birth to your children there, and I just
huh.
refused. And I refused
Oh,
because I had nothing to do there except sit and read books and maybe go for potluck parties with Indian women around. There was nothing else
right.
to do. So I used to run away. I think the longest I stayed, my husband was there for overall 6 years. And the longest
Uh,
I stayed was for 9 months. Rest every time I would be there for 3 to 6 months and I would run away. I would
oh my
literally
goodness.
run away.
The
So
mischievous Kameswari is back.
so yeah,
Right.
yeah. So
Okay, okay, I get it, I get it. ठीक है. So
mm,
let's talk more on the mindset part. Now that we clearly know where, how the seeds were sown, how your mindset developed when you were in your early ages, from
mm,
your looking at your mom to, the development of your, to the orphanage and all the work that you did there, and
mm.
looking at your father, all those things are very crystal clear now. Now you tell me, Kameshwari, like when you were told that that you were getting married, and you knew that you had to leave for Bangalore and all those things had to happen. So what was in your head? Because you being the social being that you are, and all those things. So what was the mindset when you knew, okay, now I'm gonna get married? New.
Do you really want me to be honest, Sarthak?
Yes, please be honest. That is what the show is about. Boys of steel. Be honest.
When I was getting married, all I wanted was to be a housewife and a mother.
Oh, seriously?
Yes,
I
I
was
did
expecting अभी
not.
कोई song फूटेगा यहाँ तो उल्टा हो गया ये.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Why did I say I'm an accidental entrepreneur? See, when I finished law, okay, when my last year of law, we had to
हाँ,
go to the courts and do certain number of hours there, right? And I
right,
was
right.
so disillusioned when I went there because I saw like एक 50 रुपए के affidavit के लिए there were like 50 lawyers running after you sort of a situation. I was like, is this what I have to do? I don't want to be a lawyer like this. So I never collected my certificate. I decided
Okay.
that day that I will never be a full-time lawyer. And besides, lawyer also meant that I had to be, learning and away from the house for at least 12 to 14 hours of a day. And
हाँ,
all I ever aspired, if there is a word called aspiration for what I aspired for, I wanted to
हाँ.
be a housewife and a mother. That's it. I wanted
Okay.
to get up in the morning, cook nicely for the husband, pack his lunch, see him off, wait for him in the evening with there is this, I don't know, you might not be even aware about this. You talk to your mom, she might know, your grandmom, that,
हाँ.
there's this thing about dressing up in something white, white sari usually with flowers and all that in your hairs and all.
गजरा लगा के. हैं?
A
गजरा
traditional
लगा के.
गजरा लगा के गजरा सजा के वाला
हाँ, हाँ,
स्टाइल में
हाँ, हाँ, I know, I
that
know.
used to be my
Right.
aspiration. That used to be my aspiration. But in 6 months, I realized that भैया ऐसे तो मैं पागल हो जाऊंगी या पति को पागल कर दूंगी. Because I was always busy, and again, I'm in a state where I didn't know the language,
Right.
and my neighbors were all Kannadigas and senior people, old people, and with whom I couldn't even communicate decently. No
Right.
circle, and from a place where I was surrounded by 100 people, मेरे घर के बाहर हर शाम को 100 scooters और cycles खड़ी रहती थी. Because I was always in meetings, one meeting or the other. अरे कल का क्या plan है? Which event are we doing in 2 months time? यही चलता था मेरे life में. And suddenly मेरे घर के सामने एक मतलब पंछी तक नहीं परिंदा भी पंख नहीं मारता था. So बताओ मुझे कितना
Okay.
हावी होगी. So from there I started off as a teacher. I found
Right.
a school in the neighborhood, and
हाँ.
fortunately they found my English good enough, and they gave me कि चलो बेटा जा English पढ़ा.
क्या
And
बेटा ये?
though I'm not a
जी ले
brilliant.
अपनी जिंदगी.
So they
Okay.
said go teach English. So I started teaching English. Then I had to go to US for some time. I ran away from there again. And
Right.
like I said, what do I do now? I said, okay, fine, let me become a volunteer. That is like the simplest thing to do, I guess. Uh,
Right.
keep myself engaged and still continue with my aspirations.
Living
Um,
your aspirations.
Once I started volunteering with the blind school, I was just sucked in, I guess.
Right.
So
I was
much.
gonna say back in your trance.
No, so I think for the first time in my life, I actually got into a the trance sort of a situation where I mean
Hmm.
there was so much to do. There were so many books to record. There were so many documents to make. So many proposals to write. So many stories to tell. So
Right.
I just got sucked in, I think, in 3 to 6 months' time of, I think 3 months of my volunteering. I was offered a program assistant post in a international NGO. It was called Leonard Cheshire International then. I think now it is
Wow.
called Leonard Cheshire Disability. It's a UK based
Okay.
organization. And
Wow.
then rest is history. I think I continued working for.
I like the way you say the rest is history. Come on. Actually, entrepreneurs say, I did this and the rest is history. Now तो अब आपको पता है ये सब पेपर में पढ़ ही लिया होगा आपने.
अरे नहीं पढ़े तो भी क्या फर्क पड़ता है यार, मेरे लिए तो हिस्ट्री है ना, खत्म हो गया। 18 साल निकल गया सार्थक। You are what, hardly
That's
18,
so
I'm
true.
sure, huh? You were not even born when I started volunteering, I'm sure.
Yes, probably you can say that. Yes.
Yeah, so that is history for me, खत्म हो गया। Now I'm on a totally different journey, right? I mean,
Right.
from being a disability professional and an employee in a NGO, where of course there was, like, a lot of satisfaction because I was doing something, being that drop in the ocean.
Right.
Suddenly, having to become the ocean itself in the drop is a sea change. So the rest becomes history.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right. Right.
there's a new episode altogether that has started, a new life that has started. So yeah, the rest is history. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries, no worries. दो तीन
Yeah.
पॉडकास्ट में यही बोलता रहा हूँ रेस्ट इज हिस्ट्री एंड कर्टसी में कमेश्वरी को दे दूंगा. क्यों क्यों बोल रहा है बेटा रेस्ट इज हिस्ट्री.
Kameshwari.
No, रेस्ट इज हिस्ट्री क्यों. मैं एक एपिसोड में आई वाज विद कामेश्वरी so everything was history. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so now that you know that you were wanting to be a typical you know हमारी जो होती है ना सती सावित्री typical housewife, but you ended up being completely opposite, right? And you
Absolutely.
came to Bangalore and your aspirations rose, and that old Kameswari was kicking back in you
Yeah.
that something needs to be done and you cannot sit idle and everything. So that mind was revolving, and then you got into the teaching job, and then 6 months from Bangalore, you're flying to US. Now that we are again in another new country, not again, but in an absolute new country, new city. Now tell me, what was the change in your mindset apart from that aspirational and sitting idle part? But what did you really pick up? Because as we have already seen your background, now that you're in a very developed country, so what did you pick up? How did it shape your mindset, and what all changed for you?
See, I mean, when in US and see, like I said, when I was in US, I was just doing two things: reading
Hmm.
books and socializing with neighbors.
Hmm.
इससे ज़्यादा कुछ करने को था नहीं. And I think that whole genetic disorder that I'm carrying within me was
Hmm.
always pushing me to do something. And unfortunately, in the US, when you don't have the right permits, you can't even probably engage a lot. Maybe I could have volunteered, but there weren't many opportunities for me where we lived. So
Okay. Okay.
there were two things that were running in my head. One,
Hmm.
what am I doing? You know,
Hmm.
is this how my life is going to be? Was my biggest challenge.
Right.
How many books? Because I remember in a month's time I read about 30 or 40 books, and because I had
My
nothing
goodness.
better to do, I had nothing better to do. I was writing notes on the books.
Oh my
I have
God.
a whole big register, and it is still lying somewhere, where I've
Huh.
written notes about the books. So I was like, what on earth am I doing? There's nothing productive
Okay.
happening here.
Right.
And see, the socializing bit was good. You would spend what, 1 hour, 2 hours, cook for the
Right.
set of 5, 10 women, and then all you're doing is either playing some card game or that was
Hmm.
not me. That
Right.
definitely was
Right.
not
Right.
me. I think my genetic disorder would not have let me maintain my mental sanity in that state for very long. So
Right.
yeah, so I think that is where I just had to kind of find something for myself. But then again, because I wasn't, because see, I don't have any qualification in terms of anything, right? Even disability, I don't have a qualification. I just know how to write a few words and use
Hmm.
them, like, to probably do fundraising or whatever. Write
Right.
proposals, monitoring programs. That stuff was natural instinct. Like, again, my mom's genes, I guess.
Yes.
So, that is what I picked up. And
Hmm.
like, during the journey, this thing came up. It was almost as if सर पे डंडा मार के कोई बोल रहा है कि this is what you have to do, you don't have a choice. तो ठीक है
Hmm.
भैया, आप लाइक उखल और मूसल का कहानी, सर डाला तो चोट से क्या डरना.
Nice. Uh,
Yeah, I mean that's what it was. So I don't know if it was mindset change or anything. I think the whole mindset with which I was born was not being able to do nothing. I
hmm.
don't know if it would be impactful, or if I don't know if there was a desire to kind of really change the world sort of a vision or mindset, but there was definitely this thing of being that drop in the ocean and contributing some way. And when I say
Right.
contributing, like, in a human life, even if it meant that. So another thing that I used to love doing in the US was being the agony aunt. If someone is like feeling a little sad or whatever, I was always there. Lo beta, kanta hai, gila karo.
Can
So
I?
it was like that, So that was the whole motivation, and uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was just that love for another human being that kept driving me, I guess. I don't know if there was a change in mindset in any way.
Or maybe anything did you pick anything from the US culture? Because, it's way too different.
See, I know, yeah, yeah. So see, there are certain things there, like the cleanliness, uh,
Hmm.
but honestly speaking, I like
Hmm.
the Indian culture much more. In fact, I don't like the
Hmm.
current Indian culture anymore, because even in
Hmm.
India now, we are supposed to inform a neighbor before we drop in.
Hmm.
Back when I was talking about my mom in the kitchen and the door and all that stuff,
Right.
there would be, a whole family of some 8, 10 people with their relatives who would drop in, and we're serving them dinner. And they're
My
coming in at
goodness.
what, around 6 or 7 in the evening. Right? I mean,
Oh
8 o'clock
my
is the
God.
dinner, and 7 o'clock, and my mom is cooking up something very quickly. That's how we were brought up, where anybody would drop in, neighbor के घर में पहुंच गया धड़ल्ले से उनके बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हैं, and there was no
Hmm.
permission taking. Abhi to, even if my
Right.
son go to the neighbor's house to play, I have to text,
Uh,
hey, can my son come and play with you? So I think, yeah, I would say from the US, there are a lot of things to learn, but I don't know. I like Indian culture, Indian
hmm.
society much more. I think that was another big problem my husband had to face कि ये तो settle ही नहीं होना चाहती है US में.
So
So
how did you deal with that issue? I mean, see, this is a huge issue, like, and your insight would be something really useful probably for some people. I would say बहुतों के लिए तो नहीं होगा क्योंकि यूएस जाना बहुतों का सपना ही होता है.
oh
But
yeah,
still, if this insight could help, like this thing of settling at one place. So this can sometimes, I would say, lead to family fights or whatnot, because US is a huge opportunity for lots and lots of people.
absolutely.
I'm gonna repeat that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I know families who have lived there, gave birth to their children there, got their
Hmm.
citizenships, and they are quite happy there. See, that is what.
Right,
So, of course, we had this conversation. Like, my husband also does not come from a very affluent family.
right.
So, he's from Bihar, incidentally. So, he had
Okay.
two sisters to marry, a brother who was still studying, and my father-in-law was almost on the verge of retirement, and ours was a non-conventional wedding, so I did not bring in any
Hmm.
dowry. So that way
Hmm.
he had a huge amount of financial pressure on him. Um,
Oh,
Absolutely. I mean, we paid for the sisters' weddings and all that. That is part of
right,
the family.
right,
So that was a financial
right,
burden for him, right? And like in
right.
and incidentally, he happens to be a gold medalist in engineering and all that stuff. So he did his MBA and all. So he has large aspirations, and money plays
Hmm.
a very big part in his life. At least
Right.
play at some point in time, and he
Mhm.
would aspire for of course, given a choice, he would have loved to stay in the US. He did stay back in the US, but not for long terms. Probably at a stretch he
Mhm.
has stayed for a year and a half, with visits back to India and all. But
Right.
I, one thing that I have to mention here is I
Right.
I I was a very difficult wife in that terms, right? I mean, I wasn't being cooperative. I wasn't contributing to his aspiration of making money. If he wanted,
Mm.
he could have made my life miserable or even divorced me,
Mm.
right? I mean, how much time does that
Right.
take? But
Right.
he stood by me. He stood by my decision. He supported me. He let me come back to India. He allowed me to do what I wanted to do. In fact, despite all the financial challenges that he has
Mm.
contributed to the organization I'm running. Even till day, the only financier I have is my husband, and his salary is the only place from which he's contributing, because all the savings are gone. पहले साल में
Yeah.
हमने एग्जॉस्ट कर लिया था. So,
Mm.
touchwood, that way, I have been a tremendously lucky woman. If he wanted, he could have made my life miserable. He would have said, imagine, someone
Mm.
who wants to make money and money is his only motivation. He could have said,
Right.
to hell with you. I mean, you want to get back, go wherever you want. I'm not supporting you.
Right.
Instead of that, he not only supported me here in India, घर का भाड़ा, खाने का खर्चा, all my expenses, everything taken care of, because I was not employed all the time. Every time I would
Right.
return from a US trip, I would be on a break, right? There won't be a continuous
Right.
job. And my salaries were not great. I think the
Right.
last salary I took in the disability sector was 50,000 rupees a month. So my
Okay.
salaries were not great.
Right.
So he supported it. He supported it. He's my, I think, pillar of strength. Without him, probably I wouldn't even be speaking to you today, right? I mean, would you even have known who Kameshwari is? No.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, he has been a huge, huge support.
Nice. Nice.
I did not have to manage anything except maybe once in a while through a tantrum.
Uh,
I want to go back home. That's it. And he would go away.
I'm going back to India.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't actually put it that way. I mean, he could see. He's not a very
Right.
expressive person, okay? He's a typical Indian
Right.
man. He's not very expressive,
Okay.
so he wouldn't come and say, "Oh, my wifey, you're feeling sad, low, come, take out for dinner." Nothing of that sort. But he would keep me
Uh,
happy, and he would make arrangements to, reduce that. And that's
right.
all that has been I don't remember having fights for me wanting to come back or wanting to do something. I don't remember having fights
Right.
for that. Of course we have
Right.
had our fights, but for other things, not for this.
Right. Right.
So that way, I think I would say it is God's will and grace. Otherwise, why, coming from a traditional Brahmin family, Telugu Brahmin family, I should have been
Mhm.
married to a Telugu Brahmin guy. And we
Right.
always in South India, I don't know if you're aware, we usually get married to our cousins, our bua ka betas and mama's betas. And I
No,
have
I'm
both.
not.
Yeah, you aren't.
Okay.
So that is a tradition in South, that if you have especially bua ka beta, who is of
Okay.
the compatible age, then
Right.
immediately after birth, you are just written off. There won't be even any families would not even come and ask for your hand because you have a bua ka beta in the family. It's
My
like that.
goodness.
Yes, so it's,
Okay.
it's it's a very strong thing in South, especially Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So
Okay.
yeah, so I have a bua's beta. I would have been happily married, and where my parents are next door is my bua's beta. I would have lived there.
Hmm.
But I think it
Hmm.
was all, I think, God's will, and somewhere that, superpower playing a role where
Hmm.
they gave me I mean, God gave me a husband who would not object, forget object, who is supportive of such things, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing husband. Kudos to him.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. He deserves. I am a very bad wife for that matter. I never even acknowledge that he's supportive. I think this is probably the first time I'm actually openly saying it. So,
That's great. Well, I'm sure that he should listen to it and he should share it.
hope
Yes,
he does. I hope he does. Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so now that you are back in India and doing the trips on the other side, but you're back in India so this was after coming back to India that you applied to, that you wrote to Infosys for starting that, or was it like
Okay,
before you were,
let's look at the timelines. 2000, I got married.
right?
2000 April. By end of 2000, I had written to I was okay. When I got married, मेरे को computer का C नहीं आता था. I had not even
Uh,
properly seen a computer. So I first did a computer course.
right.
Then 2001, I got into teaching job.
Okay.
2002, I went to US for the first time. I
Okay.
think 2003 I returned and immediately wrote to Infosys Foundation. But again, immediately within 15 days of returning, we had to go back. When I came
Okay.
back, it was only around 2003 that I really started doing any volunteering work and all that stuff, I guess. No,
Mhm.
it was in 2002. What am I saying? It was in 2002 itself.
Okay.
I
Okay.
started
Okay.
volunteering. When I was in US, I was doing their book recording and all that stuff. The blind.
Oh,
Yeah, and when I returned,
right.
I got a job in Leonardshire, and then
Right.
then it has been. Uh, I mean, I had, of course, my maternity breaks and all that. 2004, I had
Right.
my child, and 2008 again, second child. So took
Okay.
breaks around that time and been
Right.
working. Yeah, it's been like that.
Okay. 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 So the timeline looks good, right? Looks very good. Right.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic to me. So now, if I talk about, so now that what I can see is that journey has been really, really amazing. The love for people is like infinity that you have, and
Mm.
it overpowers every other love. Right. I can
You can
definitely
say
say.
that. You actually can say that because even my kids half the time get only half my love because I'm so loving to the whole world otherwise.
Oh my God. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
and they understand
Okay.
for kids. Yeah.
Right, right. So now what I want to know is that Kameswari, you have read a lot of books, okay, and you have got yourself educated and everything, but still, there's this thing where you mentioned that you broke all the savings your husband gave in, and he also broke
Yes.
some savings or something, right? So didn't you have this thought that first I should set up myself with something, like in the entrepreneurship many people say we have a purpose fund, okay? So, do you have this thought where you thought where, okay, let me have something for myself. It could be any XYZ way, okay,
I'm
and then
sorry.
I'll get down to helping them in a more fledged way. Because I don't know if you've heard this or not. Many times we also say that पहले खुद का पेट भर लो जिससे कि दूसरे का पेट भरने के चाहिए एटलीस्ट जान तो हो तुम
I
तो
must
जिंदा
tell
हो.
you something here. I must tell you something
Right.
here. I think when I was in 10th standard, I started
Uh,
taking tuitions to kind of whatever, earn something or whatever.
right. Right.
जो पैसा आता था, I would spend on things like these. If nothing घर के लिए मतलब पापा मम्मी के लिए कुछ गिफ्ट ला दिया sort of a thing. And my
हाँ हाँ
papa
हाँ
once asked me, I mean, this
हाँ
is a very vivid conversation I have in my memory. Papa once
हाँ
asked me, that like you don't. And my mom being a very thrifty woman, she would always
हाँ
say, you're earning like 50 rupees, put it in a fixed deposit. एक वो
हाँ
एक there used to be this concept of Indra Vikas Patra, and there used to be these all 5 years and all that का fixed deposits.
right right
She
right
would say
right
buy them, so kind of bonds. So she would say buy them, and I'd be like, no, I'm not doing it.
हाँ
One
हाँ
day, I was listening to all these conversations between my mom and me. We used to have huge fights about these things.
हाँ
And
हाँ
I said the same question that you're asking in a different way. He said, "कल का तेरे को डर नहीं लगता है क्या?" And you know
हाँ
what I said? I was 16, and I
हाँ
said, "पापा जिसने बारिश दिया है वो छतरी भी देगा." This was my
oh
nonsensical philosophy my entire life. My nonsensical philosophy, I call it, because it doesn't make any sense. It is against any sense of your own what is the right word
Hmm.
for it, sustainability and all that stuff,
Hmm.
your own instinct to survive and live and grow. It is against that.
Right,
And this
right.
was what I said to him, जिसने बारिश किया है वो छतरी भी देगा. So
Hmm.
if with that philosophy you're going, where is all this conversation coming up about, like, saving something for me or for my family and all? It,
Hmm.
I mean, this even today when I'm running the business, this is my thing. That, like, if there is
Hmm.
a need, it will
Ah,
get solved. Either there is
right.
if either there is, like, a need, right, and the
Ah,
need has to get solved. Otherwise, why is that person living? Even if you listen to all these sadgurus and all, they're all talking about karmas, right? So if you have come
right.
with a karma, you have to offload your karma in this life. Then whoever is putting you in that situation will also give you some solution for it, right? So
Right.
it's a very I don't know. I mean, it's a non-entrepreneurial way of thinking, I guess. But
It is, but then even in the entrepreneurial way of thinking, where there are a lot of stuff which are said and which come back to the Indian culture because I follow a lot of Western culture in terms of entrepreneurship, to be very honest. Okay,
hmm,
so there's always something that they say, be thankful, show
hmm,
gratitude that, whatever you have, be thankful for it. So, हमारे घर में अब जैसे कि or they also say that that you need to give back something to get something in return, and do not expect,
huh,
but you need to
hmm,
give, right?
yeah,
The more you give, the more you'll get back. Okay,
yeah.
so हमारे भारत देश में इतने अच्छे समझाते नहीं है, पता है, कभी-कभी तो मैं ये भी सोचता हूँ, ढंग से
Hmm.
समझाए तो शायद समझ में भी आ जाता है, फिर बाहर वालों की सुनने की जरूरत ठीक है। और honestly my mom listens to this ना, जितने जूते पड़ेंगे ना मुझे कि बेटा हमारी बात तो कभी मानेंगे तुम नहीं। I swear to
सुनाना नहीं
God,
मम्मा को.
I swear to God, this morning, recently I was like listening to something, I don't, or probably reading somewhere, and it
Hmm,
was the very same thing that you know, it was, I was listening to this audio book by Darren Hardy, if I'm saying his name right, the
hmm,
power of compound effect. Okay,
hmm,
and there he mentioned about routine, and that he would wake up early morning and he would give 7.5 minutes something to wake up, and he would thank and he would give the gratitude. And
hmm,
honestly, I'll tell you, today morning I woke up at 4 a.m. Okay, I had to work on some quotations. I was
hmm.
working, and I don't know for what reason I was actually thanking my heart जोड़ के बैठा हूँ. Thank you so much. And I was like, if my dad enters and he sees this, ना he'd be like, बेटा हुआ क्या है? आज तक मेरे हाथ जोड़े नहीं है.
आयु
ठीक
के
है.
साथ तक.
That is the point. So what you're saying right now, that
Yeah,
this thing where you're mentioning कि जिसने बारिश दी और छतरी भी देगा, that does apply. That
yes,
definitely
it
applies.
does. It does. It does.
कि
I have seen it happen every day in my life. So I am not, yeah, I don't regret my philosophy. But of course, I mean, looking at the situations and, like, especially when I see my husband struggling for money, and, like, if I have to worry about the next payment, and then I think कि अरे यार थोड़ा सा तो ले अकल लगा लिया कर.
हाँ
But then that's what I mean. this has been, I don't know how, and I don't think anybody actually told me that. I have not heard about it from anyone else. It was just that,
Mm.
and unfortunately that conversation happened on a day where it was actually drizzling. तो मैंने कहा जैसे बारिश हुआ है बारिश वो छतरी भी देगा. The papa was like, papa was actually speechless. My papa is a huge philosopher, you know, he's very philosophical in
Uh,
nature. And I
right.
think वो भी genetic disorder है.
Which kind of disorder?
His philosophical thing, I'm living it. So
Mm.
that is what has been, unfortunately, like, you know, so I don't think I've ever thought twice about
Huh.
like, you know, taking a risk. So for example,
Right.
when this whole pandemic started, everything
Huh.
was shut down. But
Right.
I think by April, because my only thing was कि यार अभी शहर में तो we guys have some sort of a backup, we have some food
Right.
and all coming, they don't have anything. उस
Huh.
टाइम पे तो राशन भी टाइम पे पहुंचेगा, there was no guarantee. So I said we
Right.
have to get into action. And April 13th we
Huh.
were on the road, you know, when I was like every single day told like, you know, what you're doing is foolish, but we did
Huh.
it. So I think बहुत ज़्यादा fatalistic हूँ मैं, and I'm like suicidally fatalistic, I guess, but that is how I've been. बारिश आए तो छतरी भगवान देगा बोल के निकल जाती हूँ, वो तूफान आए चाहे ओले पड़े.
My goodness, yeah. This grit of actually going with the flow that whatever come, I will help people is insanely innate in you, I would say. It's so deep down engraved that I can just bow down to
Yeah,
it.
unfortunately, it is not something that I think and do. That is
Uh,
the scary part. If I think and do, probably I'll be a little more prudent.
hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't think and do. I just do. Uh, let's see
I
where
guess
this takes
that is
me.
what we also say, no, about that. When you do something that you love, you don't really think about it, right? It just comes out. It
Yeah,
just
so
happens.
it just
It
happens. True. It just
just
happens.
happens.
Not something
I
you
get
control and do.
it.
Yeah.
I see it. I see it. Okay,
Yeah.
so now tell me, Kameswari, how does it really feel now that you have? Okay, before I even step into this, that how does it really feel? First, tell me how did it felt when the oceans turned around?
Yeah.
When the people came back telling that the organization has shut and that you had to create the organization, okay,
Hmm.
all together from scratch, what did it instill in you, and what was the mindset at that point of time? I know कि ये तो समझ आ गया मुझे कि अब हम निकल जाएंगे बाहर, we'll do it, but still, how did you buckle yourself up and how did the process all start? मतलब, what was going in the head कि यार shit, now I'm here.
Scared. I was shit scared. बहुत डर लग रहा था because having started it from the scratch 2 3 years before,
Hmm.
and like, you know, taking to the level which I took, I mean, like by the time I had left the organization, we were able to earn enough to pay the women and for the raw materials. That much I had managed. Beyond
Oh,
that, yeah, we managed that much. So beyond that, converting it into a profitable entity is something which I did not do, and I moved out. And
right.
I was within an organization which is a multi-crore organization with
Right.
a funding backup every year. Today's turnover of that organization is about to touch 100 crores.
My God.
Okay,
Okay.
a organization like that could not sustain 15 women. How was I going to do? That was my biggest fear. And not being from the business background, I didn't even know कि कितनी लागत लगानी है, how much is the inflow that I need to have, how much should be the, and I didn't know where the business will come from. It
Right.
was it was like in the month of April. I remember April 2017. I'm sitting in the
Mm.
office, and one of the girls from the villages calls me, and she's crying and saying, "Amma, in a month's time, we are out of job." And I'm like,
Oh.
oh, what now? Because I know those families very closely, right? I mean, I
Right.
was working with them day in and day out. I know the each member of that family. I'm aware who has disability, who has what challenge, whose son is where, what is the family income. I knew everything. And
Hmm.
so I the first instinct was कि भैया these 15 families are going to be on the street,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
what are we going to do? So the biggest fear was कि whether to do or not to do was secondary. कि अब इनका मैं मतलब what do I say to them? I left them
Hmm.
with that organization. So I spoke to my husband and I said, let me find another NGO who can
Right.
sustain them probably. Or there are
Right.
entities like Mother Earth and even Fab India for
Yes.
that matter. They
Yes.
support
Yes.
such
Yes.
ventures, and there are
Right.
entities associated with them. I said, let's find one of those NGOs. My
Hmm.
husband was like, yeah, I mean, you are an idiot. You left it with an organization which is in which had multi-crore turnover, and you
Hmm.
saw what happened. They were not getting payments on time, and there are challenges. Okay, and
Hmm.
I would support them from outside. So he was like, "अरे तेरे से ज़्यादा उनका दर्द कौन समझता है?" That was his
Hmm.
question. You think any other organization you hand them over to, it will be the same situation. They will be concerned about the inflow, outflow, value for money, and all that. Will they be really concerned about that child in that family who needs that medicine every day? They won't think about
Right.
that. So why do you want
Right.
to take a chance and hand them over to another NGO?
Hmm.
That is where the whole thing toppled and we said, okay, we are registering an entity. That was the first thing, and this happened in the month of April. We started the process, and I think by May 1st onwards, the entity's entire responsibility was falling on my head, and there were no orders at that time, huh? No business, no clients, nothing.
Right.
And and May 13th my husband has a massive heart attack.
Oh.
I'm like, अब मैं कहाँ जाऊँ? I don't know if this man is going to come out of the hospital. I don't know if those 15 women are going to survive. So with all that, but then that's what I'm saying. We feel that, generally as human beings that हाँ मैंने तो यार बड़ा उखाड़ा मेरे हस्बैंड बिस्तर पे थे वो पैसे नहीं थे फिर भी हमने मतलब कर दिया. I don't think we did anything at all. It was all God's grace because at that time certain orders started coming in. There were some friends who called and they said, "Acha ye kar lo, wo kar do." It,
Hmm.
things started falling into place automatically, slowly, gradually, but things started to fall into place. I'm not saying it was
Right.
not challenging. I'm not saying there was a red carpet waiting for all of us to walk upon. No, we had
Right.
challenges. Every day the struggle was कि कल का पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है, which gold piece am I selling today, or which bank account am I hitting tomorrow. So this
Hmm.
was happening, but yet
Right.
that whole thing, that whole surviving through that challenges, the women stood by us. We had to there were very urgent orders that would come up. The women did it. उन्होंने करके
Hmm.
दिया. If they did not produce, if they had looked at it as हाँ चलो मैडम तो लगा रही है पैसा, let us do 8 घंटे का काम 4 घंटे में and or rather 8
Hmm.
घंटे का काम 20 घंटे में and let us please. They were also
Hmm.
genuine, honest, and they put a lot of efforts. So I think
Right.
it was a combined journey of those 15 women, my family, my entire family, and above, over and above all the superior boss, God.
Hmm. Right.
I don't know otherwise what else to say, Sarthak, to be honest. I know, I mean, for you, someone so young and someone who believes in hard work and business and all that, this all sounds very silly, stupid, I'm sure, but I really don't know what else to say. I'm just being genuinely honest. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, see, no, no, no. See,
You are
honestly,
welcome to
talking with
restart
you,
this whole conversation if you want to, but that is the honest truth. So it has
no,
all
this
been.
is this honest truth is actually appreciated, and this is what I really want because, see, what I'll say that I have been reading. I cannot say that I've been reading a lot, but I have been
Mm,
reading. Okay, and
mm,
I love to read about people's story and whatnot, and biographies of businessmen and a lot of stuff. Okay, so when I read all of that things and what all you're telling me, it again comes down to the part that everyone, no
Hmm.
matter whichever business it is, whosoever is the entrepreneur, but somewhere or the other, they have said similar stuff that they don't know what happened, but
Hmm.
suddenly when it was the worst hit, things started
Yeah.
falling into place.
Yeah, yeah, I'm telling you. I mean, take pandemic. I mean, this whole coronavirus situation. Yeah, I'll tell you, Sarthak. Year one,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
our entire turnover touched about 8-10 lakhs. Okay,
Okay, right.
year two, we managed to turn it out to be 20 somehow. ठीक है
Okay,
we were still short because my monthly expense is about 1.5 lakhs and we are just at 20, so I'm sure you can do the calculations yourself, right? We
right,
were short.
right, right,
We have
right,
always been in loss. In the
right,
third year also, we were just about maybe touching 20 or about to cross 20 when pandemic hit us.
right,
Everything was shut down, right?
right.
There was
Mm,
nothing happening. I mean, mujhe forget orders. We had executed orders which were lying at my home because or the people who placed the orders refused to pick them because even they didn't know what to do with them anymore, right?
mm,
So under
right.
those circumstances, with almost a month of nothing, I think mid March we hit lockdown, and till
Huh,
April first week we had nothing to do, and I could not. I mean, somehow we paid the salaries for the first week of April.
right.
Again, like, my husband paid for it, but then after that, what? Month of May, month of June, month of July, where do I bring? What do I do? And I couldn't even tell those women ki bhaiya kuch nahi karo, because even the husbands, even those people who would
Mm,
hardly work, whatever they were bringing was finished, na? Day labor was
right,
also closed. Laborers were
right,
not required anymore. There was nothing happening. You're supposed to be sitting locked down in your house.
right.
And I think April, someone called me in the second week of April and said, "Okay, Kameshwari, what are you doing with your people?" I said, "I
Mm,
don't know. I mean, we are sitting idle." And they said,
mm,
"Why don't you make masks?" I said, "Okay, sounds like an interesting idea.
mm,
Whatever, fabric, little bit of fabric we had, उससे हमने कुछ sample masks बनाए. People
mm,
liked it, and
mm,
orders started flowing in. You won't believe,
mm.
Sarthak. I think
Huh,
we are about 6-8 months of the financial year. We have seen through it, or maybe, yeah, 8-9 months gone.
right.
We are almost touching 40 lakhs revenue already. Profits की
Oh
बात नहीं
my
पूछना,
good.
profits की बात नहीं पूछना, because in the process, see, in the
Huh,
process from 15 we went up to 25. Okay, we have a team of
right,
25 today. In this
right.
pandemic situation, we were able to ensure at least some income for another 78 tailors. Did I
Oh
do
my
it?
goodness.
Did I do it? Did I plan for it? No, it
No,
just happened. Even today, even as we speak right now, we are
right.
executing an order in which there are at least, I think, how many? 25 plus, I think about 60 tailors that are engaged. Right? There were
Oh,
months where all the factories were shut, all the
right,
tailors were out of job.
right.
If we could at least give them, and these were not chota orders, huh? If I'm saying
Uh-huh.
40 lakh revenue, that
This is a
means
huge
that
order.
there were good orders. Now we are
Right,
executing about 1.5 lakh kits, 1 lakh
right.
2,000 mask kits that we are making. So the orders
Wow.
are not small. Money is small. I mean,
Right,
there isn't like a lot of money in it. And we are
right,
paying so many additional people. So obviously there is nothing left. We are again, a cash deficit. But
right,
what I'm trying to communicate here is that there's nothing I could have done, right?
right.
And just before this pandemic hit, we had there's an entity called Better India. I'm sure you'd have heard of
Right.
them. They
Yes,
had
yes,
a
yes.
fundraiser for us. and we were able to buy a few sewing machines, which contributed to the whole situation. Yeah, if I did not have those sewing machines, I would not
Right.
even have imagined कि we can do masks, fabric masks.
Okay.
है कि नहीं? So it is
Right.
like, was I looking for that sewing machines? Yes, I was looking for it. But did I actually go and approach Better India? No, Better India, like you found us, they found us. I have not done. That is where I'm saying there is
Right.
nothing that I could have done or I would have done differently than what is happening. What is happening on its own. I'm just being used as a pawn in the entire game. And this is
Right.
something that I'm
Right.
not just saying for the sake of saying this is what I'm living. This is what is happening every
Mm.
day. So I mean, I'm telling you, this was if nothing, if you don't believe in miracles, still I don't know what else to call it. Honestly speaking, because suddenly from zero work to be able to deliver, we must have done about 4-5 lakh masks in the last 6 months. And could we actually have done
Oh.
it? We couldn't have done it. They were friends, so
Hmm.
people with whom we were, holding stalls and all that companies, they called up and said, Kameshwari, can you make 5,000 masks? It all started with 100 masks. 100 went off
Hmm.
to 5,000, 5,000 to, there's this entity called Sahas in Bangalore. They had
Right.
some, first it was some 40,000 mask order. Then, so it gradually
Oh.
increased. And today we are able to execute in a month's time 1,20,000 mask kits, which means
Right.
two masks and, one pouch. So if we are able to do that, that is,
Hmm.
it is not humanly possible, right? I mean, where would the investment come from? Right.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
at that time, Sarthak, you won't believe in everything was shut down, and someone said,
Hmm.
Kameshwari, can you give me 5,000 masks? I did not have
Hmm.
a dukan open to give me the fabric for it, but we got it.
Oh. Right.
We got it. I knew someone in the garment industry. They called up somebody. That gentleman was kind enough to say, "Okay, chalo, I will open my shop and give you some fabric." I said,
Uh,
like that. Things just kind
right.
of fell into place. So today, like I'm saying, we are good for the next 2 months. I know for the next, I mean, this month's salary we have already been able to pay. Next month's salaries also will be able to pay. उसके बाद there'll be another magic
Right.
happening, hopefully.
My
Yes.
goodness.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
mean,
So,
this is such an amazing story. Such an amazing story.
yeah,
What can I say? I mean, I am just going speechless with as you just give out the detail. I just keep on going speechless and speechless.
I
But this is
know,
really
sorry,
amazing, and you actually
no
you
tension at all.
no, that's fine. But this actually shows that things work, and you just need to be see. I after a lot of things and all this reading and talking to people, if I have to say one thing, no, I'll just say one thing:
Mhm.
consistency. That's it.
Yes,
Persistence,
yes,
consistency.
yes,
Everything will work out.
yes.
Just be there.
I was reading somewhere very recently. Where was I reading now? I don't know where it was, but
Uh,
I think, see, there is this whole thing about intellect and intelligence, intellect playing a role in your growth and all that.
right,
And people there who are not very intelligent by education or anything and yet surviving.
right.
Right? The word that I picked up from there was grit. What you're
Yes,
saying exactly,
yes.
perseverance, grit. It is just
Right.
that, being like that bamboo का झाड़ झंझावात आए या जो आए खड़े हैं बस.
Correct.
Yes, that's all.
Right.
That's all I know. मैं यहाँ पे खड़ी हूँ भैया, जिसको आके काम देना है दो. आपको काम करवा के देने की जिम्मेदारी मेरी. Don't worry about the output. Just come and do it.
Just come and give me work.
That's it.
That's
हम यहाँ खड़े हैं. We're waiting.
I'm not correct. We're waiting now. That's an attitude. So listeners, I mean, This is something really amazing that you guys should pick up from Kameswari. That too being a social entrepreneur, that too doing everything for the sheer love of people that she has and still not thinking about profits. I mean, थोड़ी शर्म तो मुझे आ रही है सर सच्ची
Hey,
बोलूं तो
listen, Sarthak, I don't mind making a little salary myself, huh? So please don't
yeah,
say that I don't
obviously,
want to think
obviously.
about money at
अरे
all.
that's one thing. Come on, that's one thing because we all need to survive. मैंने बस पहले ही बोला ना बेसिक नीड्स तो खुद भी हमें पूरी करनी है. You also have food. You are also living. I am also living. So yeah, that is there.
Yeah,
But then the
at least to
see,
buy a shoe, I need money. I'm just kidding,
obviously,
but yes, I mean,
obviously that is there. But this thing is just amazing with the. I mean, the motive is amazing. I mean, I just don't know. So now tell me, this question has established a lot of fronts. Now tell me, how does it really feels to be an entrepreneur?
oh, scary. Sleepless nights, I don't know what all. I mean, see, it is
Uh,
on one hand a very see,
right.
fulfilling is a very small word because it is not just that satisfaction which is fulfilling, it is the whole challenge, the drive, the adrenaline rush that goes through your head to toe is amazing. I'm telling you, it's thrilling. I love,
I
I love driving and I love driving vehicles at speed, but even that is not giving me that thrill that I'm getting as an entrepreneur. I'll tell you why.
yeah.
Suddenly one day I'll get a call and they'll be like, tomorrow, can you give me this? And it is an
Hmm.
impossible ask, huh? It's almost an impossible ask because today
Right.
1 p.m., I'll just give you a small example. Today 1 p.m. I
Hmm.
get a call and they want 60 tote bags. ठीक है? Now
Okay.
that is not
Okay.
difficult. That is not difficult. 60 tote bag
Uh,
stitching does not take time. If you have the material, people, current, everything is in order, you can do it.
right.
Now that needs to get printed, screen printed, and delivered before 12
Oh.
noon next day. How,
Okay.
how do you do that? We do. We did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I mean, so that rush, that kick in the end, why I'll tell you 60 bags is important is 60 bags is, I think our bags went at 40 rupees each. 40
okay.
रुपीज में से आई थिंक एक्सपेंस वगैरह निकाल के इवन इफ वी से 10 रुपीज बचा यार 600
Uh,
रुपए इस दो पीपल का 1 डे का लेबर कॉस्ट सॉल्व ना
so
that is the only drive. There's nothing behind it. And when we had to do 40,000 masks
hmm.
without any fabric, okay, no
Hmm.
one to supply fabric, and
Hmm.
when I invest, we have had such nasty experiences. There was this one
Uh,
vendor somewhere, I don't even want to think where, we
uh,
asked for a particular fabric, we pay
uh,
for it, and he just
hmm.
sends the worst quality fabric and not even the fabric we were looking for. We were looking for Cora, he sends me grey.
Oh.
And imagine the thrill one would have felt when you are able to not just, so it is a loss. That is like some 20, 30,000 that I spent on it down the drain. And it is sitting in my
Right.
house because I have no product that I can make out of it.
Right.
And the day someone says, "Oh, this is a lovely fabric, इसके मुझे mask बना के दे दे," and you're able to convert it to 40,000 masks, sell it off. Imagine the thrill you get.
Yes.
Huh? So, that is what is like, giving me this. I mean, that whole the I mean, I don't know what is the right word for it, Sarthak. It's thrill, it's happiness, it is joy, and at the end of it, when you have just enough money in the bank to be able to pay the monthly remuneration for those people, the
Right.
relief you get,
Oh,
right?
that is a huge relief, I know.
It is like, and like, this month, because we had this order and like this is a very urgent order that is going on, our
Hmm.
expense was 1,92,000.
Okay.
Could I have, like, actually, was there so much thing? No, but then we were able to pay it off on time this month. So that
Hmm.
sense of relief and joy, so every day is a new challenge and a new sense of high.
Hmm.
I don't drink. I have not tried any of those drugs yet. But
Right.
I think if I have to imagine that high, I am getting it already. So it's,
Oh.
that is what is like, I have not got this even in any of my jobs, honestly speaking. Though it used to be a
Mhm.
very happy feeling ki haan chalo, today we did a proposal and raised some like, 50 lakhs ka proposal through hua, 10 lakhs ka proposal through hua. That was a different happiness. But what I'm
Right.
enjoying now is beyond. I don't think I would exchange this for anything at all. Even if someone
हाँ,
says कि चल बेटा कल से तेरे को 1 लाख का सैलरी देता हूँ तो नौकरी कर. Thank you very
हाँ.
much. I'm enjoying
Thank you.
this. I'm happy
I'm
earning
enjoying
zero.
this. Oh my god. This is what I really like. Oh my god. So listeners, I mean, this is such a great explanation. इसको तो मैं loop पे चला सकता हूँ बैठ के honestly. ठीक है,
Wow.
motivation उसके लिए. But this is exactly what entrepreneurship is. So I'll tell you in another way. So yesterday I was having a recording session with Mr. Lalchand Bisu. Okay, so Bisu is the founder for Kuku FM. Kuku FM is another platform where our podcast is streamed. थोड़ी मैंने सबकी
Okay.
marketing कर दी यहाँ पे, ठीक है? So, so that is another platform. But when we were discussing about and talking about entrepreneurship and everything, so what he said, he's like, for me, the fun is taking things from zero to one.
Exactly.
Exactly. This is what your fun is. This is your adrenaline rush. Is
Exactly. और क्या? I
zero
mean,
to one.
when someone calls you and says, Kameshwari, will you be able to do 1,20,000 masks? I do not have the
हाँ,
manpower. 25 लोग मेरे 25 टेलर नहीं है. I don't have
हाँ,
the manpower. And even
right.
today, and we actually deliver in phases, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
on 11th, I have to send out like, let's say 15,000 masks.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, I don't know if I'm like, getting that 15,000th mask on 11th morning because I have I
Uh,
have to work. There's so many challenges in the villages. See, my biggest challenge today is what you know, power cuts.
right.
Power
Oh,
cuts. My people are willing
okay.
to work. My teams are
Uh,
willing to work through the night.
right.
पर पावर ही नहीं होता है यार मशीनें चलेंगी कैसे राइट एंड आई एम लाइक गोइंग अराउंड begging कि भैया मेरे को 1 लाख रुपया दे दो आई वांट टू बाय वन जनरेटर बिकॉज वी डोंट हैव a ATG we haven't yet been able to raise I'm sure that will also come वो
Right.
सुपर बॉस सुन रहे हैं but
Uh,
what I'm saying is like things like that so I don't know if there is a
right.
massive power cut 8 hours power cut my production is
Mm-hmm.
gone for 6 right and
Right.
I'm working with tailors across locations now because I mean we are hiring non-employed tailors right now
Right.
one is sitting some 10 kilometers from here another tailor is sitting 60 kilometers down there I have to distribute all the fabric suta dhaga
Mm-hmm.
everything to them pick up you
Mm-hmm.
tell me if I had and I have to acknowledge another thing here, Sarthak. It's not
Yes.
just those production units and your funding people, your directors, your colleagues, your friends. It is the most important person in your life becomes a driver. The गाड़ी का
Mm.
ड्राइवर सोचो if my driver says कि भैया आप तो मेरे को 20,000 महीने का देते हो I'm supposed to work only
Uh,
8 hours a day I'll not go to
right.
20 locations and usually what do drivers do home to office and 8 घंटे twiddling on the phone
Uh,
I'm expecting my driver to working for like the same 20,000 driving across 220 kilometers each day collecting stuff and putting it into the what Sarthak what we have done
mm.
बॉक्सेस सर के ऊपर 20-25 केजी के बॉक्सेस सर के ऊपर ढो के वी हैव रन आफ्टर buses to ensure the delivery happens next day morning and
क्या
who
बात
did
कर
it
रहे हो?
yeah we have done it there was an order very interesting huh? like I mean मेरे को तो
हाँ,
these are what that I don't have so many memories from my childhood or college or anything but these
हाँ, हाँ,
memories I'm
हाँ,
going
हाँ.
to take it to my grave I'm telling you last
That's
November yeah
right.
last Diwali, one lady, God bless her, I don't even know where she got our number from. She placed
huh,
an order for 60 kits, some return gifts. She's from hotel industry and she
okay.
wanted to give her customers some gifts. And she
Hmm.
placed for an order for 60 different items. Like they were so all put together. There were 240 items, chotu chotu items, and
Right,
we had 4 days
right,
time. We
right,
had just 4 days time. I should not have picked up the order because there were other orders running parallelly. But
right,
then Diwali is the only time when we get all these orders. So I picked up. मैंने
mhm,
कहा कर दे. And we
right.
did. Now the delivery is expected tomorrow morning.
Hmm.
Okay. Today evening 6 o'clock. We are still in the villages, which is 60 kilometers away from Bangalore. And the last bus to Bombay is about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. Okay.
Okay,
We
right.
ran, we ran, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, you can actually look this up. Last Diwali, that whole week, it was pouring. In
Yes.
that cold rain, we were in the bus stop. We somehow reached the bus stop, and we were
Huh,
finding out कि ये transport services जो थे like VRL and SRS and all those, they were refusing.
hmm.
They were like कि हम नहीं ले सकते and we cannot deliver next day morning.
Right.
I remember there was one, someone showed us a bus, ki bhaiya, that bus is going to Bombay. And see if you can put the box in it. The
Hmm.
bus had already started moving.
Hmm.
This whole box, and it is like, raining. Please remember, this box on our head. There were two boxes. I had one on my head. My driver Balaji had another on his head. We were chasing
Right.
the bus. There was no parking. We could not have driven on that path in the car to the bus. We were chasing
Right.
the bus. We were like, oh, 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 please stop. Somehow someone heard. They stopped. We begged, pleaded, gave that driver some pocket money and said कि भैया मिठाई खरीद लेना दिवाली का. Just
Huh,
call that person half an hour or 1 hour before you hit the destination. That person will
huh.
come and collect. And he took it. He delivered it.
My God.
You tell me, will it not be a memory?
It will definitely be a memory. Obviously, it will be a memory.
That's what I'm talking
Uh,
about. This happened even last month. There was this again,
oh,
another set of masks. This keeps happening with us, huh? We enjoy this, I guess. We love chasing buses, okay? There was this whole mask kit ka thing.
huh,
बस
huh,
निकल चुकी थी बस स्टॉप से. The bus
huh,
had started. We were delayed. बारिश उस दिन भी हो रही थी. Unfortunately, we and our love for rain. So
huh,
the bus had started. It was like, and you know how the route buses are, right? They keep moving. They don't stop everywhere and anywhere. So we
right.
chased the bus. मतलब वो literally फिल्मी स्टाइल में my driver stopped the vehicle in front of the bus and उसके हाथ जोड़ के बोलता है बेटा इसको ले जाओ और मंड सुबह डिलीवर.
Oh my God.
I did not have Balaji. You think I could have done anything in my life? You tell me.
Not like
I'm
Barbara
not
has to
talking
get
only
you
about the
not.
god Balaji. My driver's name is also Balaji. So stuff
Oh,
like that. So I mean, so this is what gives you that. I think the reason for you to wake up in the morning and take up the next challenge because otherwise what is there यार 9 to 5 वही सुबह उठो नौकरी पे जाओ 10 लोगों से गप्पे मारो 4 चाय पियो घर आ जाओ फिर सो जाओ. Where is the adrenaline rush?
I know, I
So
know.
I think that is what when that is what your friends said about 0 to 1. I totally agree. I mean when we
Yes.
start off actually कुछ नहीं होता और जब वो 1 पे पहुंचता है and 100 challenges we address in between.
Right, right.
That's that's what is the driving force.
My goodness. So this thing, my God. I'm so loving Badak. I mean, you've expressed it so well. So
And
well.
this is
I mean,
something
I've
that
got
we're living every day, yeah. So it's an
yes,
expression. It's
yes,
like just
I can completely understand. I'll say your BA English is helping you out here a lot. Very much.
sorry.
Your BA English is helping you out a lot here. Like
Oh,
very
yeah,
much.
yeah, right. Yes, yes, yes. No, not just BA English. I think Jeffrey Archer is also helping a lot because BA English was some 20 to 25 years ago, and our
Ah,
English was totally different. It was not at all this English. Definitely, English is
Okay.
helping more. The
Right,
books that
right.
I keep reading. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Kameshwari, if you don't mind this, like I'll be sorry beforehand I say this, but if you don't mind, could you please tell me the age at which you started this entrepreneurial journey?
Why are you sorry about it? There is nothing to be sorry about it. The
I
entrepreneurial journey, I think this is 2017. So I was 43.
My goodness,
Yes.
my
Not
goodness,
young.
guys.
Not
Yeah, no,
I'm
वो तो मुझे पता है that
47.
वो young और fat नहीं था, but what I wanna tell my listeners here is, guys, this, I mean, I don't know. You would have heard this n number of times that whenever the calling comes, there's no age to anything, and there are plenty of people.
There is no
Like,
age at all to anything. There is only one thing, the calling coming and you being ready to take it up. That's it.
yes, I
Nothing
mean,
else.
this is. I mean, okay. For now, forget KFC. KFC की story
Okay.
में we put him at so we the guy who started KFC, he was 63 when he started it. Okay,
Correct. Yes.
so
Hmm.
forget KFC. Look at Kameswari right now. 43 when he started it. I mean, honestly, इंडिया में मैं खुले को बोलूंगा यार इंडिया में कितनी वुमेन स्पेसिफिकली 40s के बाद सोचती हैं आई मीन यू गाइस आर स्टिल इन योर 18s and 20s guys
Nahi,
you can
there are
still
quite a few.
there
Sarthak, there
I,
are
I have
quite a few.
I know there are quite a few and you would definitely know them. I have a lot of respect for them. I hell lot of respect
Yeah.
and majorly for the grit. Like this, you see, the point is you're going behind that calling even when you know that there's so much to risk, right?
Oh, yeah, that is there. I mean, I don't think I have a choice about that. Because if I am not at it right now,
Mhm.
I mean, from 15 to 25, and we are looking at there is need. It is not as if, like, we are creating it. There's another
Mhm.
entity in the villages. So, this whole thing actually started as a concept in my head back even in 2013 or whenever it started, was because there are
Mhm.
people with disabilities in rural areas, okay? And
Right.
in my journey of disability work, we have brought a lot of young adults from villages, trained them in different skills, settled them into, your KFCs and your Burger Kings and
Yes.
your
Yes. Yes.
companies. We do that a lot.
Yes.
But there are people who are either so severely disabled that they can't come out, or they're
Mhm.
not qualified enough at all. They haven't gone to a school at all in their life, and yet
Right.
they have to live a livelihood. They have to earn their own livelihood. There's this one young boy, his name is
Right.
Jogi Siddeshwar. He's working with us. I have
Okay.
seen him because in the same locality our disability organizations were working, like, the
Mhm.
rural areas are same. So this
Mhm.
boy, I've seen him since he was a tiny little boy, polio affected
Right.
boy.
Right.
uh, a very poor family. Father married a second time, so whatever chota sa house he had to give it away to the first wife and the
Mhm.
children. So
Mhm.
Jogi and the second wife and the father
Mhm.
is almost blind.
Mhm.
The This boy's mother started working with us. She was working with us. Unfortunately, she
Okay.
meets with an accident and she dies on the
Oh.
spot. Jogi is left without any livelihood, any support.
Hmm.
And he cannot be brought to Bangalore because he is so severely disabled that he would develop, bum sores, the sores that you get just because you're sitting. So when his mom passed
Hmm.
away, there was no
Hmm.
one to take care of him, and he would drag himself around and try to cook in the house for the blind father and all that. He got
Hmm.
such severe sores, Sarthak. He had to be in the hospital on bed for a month because the sores were so deep that the bones were visible.
Oh.
You tell me, I mean, what kind of work can he do? He does our toys. You should look up our website. You should see the
Mhm.
toys. He makes those toys. And they're so beautiful. They're one of our best selling products, actually. So that is what I'm talking about. I mean, when you don't have a, when they don't have any other option. They can't go anywhere. They get a pension. I'm not saying they don't get anything from the government or anything, but the pension
Mhm.
is, I think now it is 1,000 or 1,500 a month. You tell me,
Right,
how can a young boy sustain himself with that kind of money, even
right.
if it's in a village? Right, so things like that, so that is where the whole need, or like, even if it was a subconscious or a I mean, subconscious or unconscious, I don't know what kind of a thought it was in my head
Mhm.
that drove me into this, was this.
Right.
They, if you teach them a particular skill, ठीक है, they might learn the same skill. I might learn it in 5 days, you might learn it in 6 days, they might take
Right.
15 days, but at the end they will learn something, and they will, if we can convert it into a business for them, if
Mhm.
we can sell. So those toys, these are made out of fabric, very kid
Mhm.
friendly,
Right.
like, child friendly, very colorful, beautiful, and all that. I mean, we are
Right.
spending hundreds of rupees on buying those Chinese and I don't know what plastic toys and all that stuff. These
Right.
are, unfortunately, they are loved even abroad. We have some friends in France who love taking them. So I'm talking about that. So they are able to live, at least earn something for themselves. Now, this guy is almost what, 23, 24. Someday he will have to
Mhm.
think about getting married. He can
Right.
think about it now, right? He knows that at least at
Right.
the end of the month I learn 5 to 10,000 rupees. He can think of
Mm.
marriage. He can think of having
Right.
a family. He doesn't have to depend on his aunts and neighbors to give him food and all that. So things like that.
Absolutely. So you're talking
So
about these, right? Meena the fish, Chochoi the duck, Ellie the elephant, Da-
yes, yes,
Dadu the
yes,
big turtle, Rangila Teddy. Oh my god.
yes, yes, yes. I mean, this is all done by my friend. I am very bad with social media. My friend Sangeeta, uh,
Huh.
she helps us with all these things. She did that whole website and she gave all those names to those
But
animals.
that's fine. But guys, you guys need to see these. These actually look very, very good. Had I been in my early ages, मैं पक्का खरीद रहा होता लड़ रहे भाई कुछ तो दे दो दिला दो and only these not that expensive also guys you should support them come on like I have the whole page open in front of me right now so this is crazy
You're seeing them, huh?
yes they are open in front of me right now
Yeah. My favorite is that Teddy. Looks like Mr. Bean's Teddy.
yes, yes, it does. That is why it's also the bestseller. No,
That is
definitely,
one, yes.
that is
Yes. So
why. No,
that
it
and that
does.
elephant. Ellie the elephant is most popular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is also a very cute one, I would say. A very cute
Yeah.
elephant. I mean, these are going to look so good in so many places. Although I'm imagining them in Rajasthani houses, but
Yeah.
they're going to
No,
definitely look very
across,
good.
across. See those tiny toys that tiny little animals that you see, the camel, the elephant, and all that stuff.
Yes.
They are hanging ones, so they can. So we actually have another product which is not listed there.
Okay.
Baby kids have these baby monitors, the hanging toys, and the colorful
Right.
plastic stuff with which
Right.
they play. We make something like that. So there are usually five animals hanging on two bamboo sticks, which are colorfully, aesthetically tied up with beautiful fabric, and
Right.
that kids love them. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think, like, they have a huge potential, especially with whole, like, what our prime minister keeps saying about Indian toys, and I just heard him speak yesterday or day before about,
Right.
I think yesterday,
Mhm.
about the toys being made in India and the traditional toys being promoted and all that. So we do all that, we are doing all that, but just that right now we are struggling for finances. I'm sure that also will get taken care of soon. And
But this is amazing. It's like I'm actually checking the website again. Honestly, मैंने पहले भी देखी है. But since she meant since I was just checking out the toys and now the story is there in front of me, so I'm just even more happy to see it that I know the story behind it. So this just feels very good. Honestly, I mean, guys, you should buy it for the fact that you're gonna learn.
just for the heck of it, man. Has to
Yeah.
have something colorful in your house in the corner, yeah.
Right, right. Oh my God. But also very well answered. Yeah, Kameswari, I'm so happy to listen to the answer that how does entrepreneurship feel. Lovely answer and the stories that you have told. Oh my goodness. मतलब मुझे पूछने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ी मैं पूछता वरना कामेश्वरी कोई प्यारा सा इंस्टेंस बताओ ना अभी अभी मेरे को पता है मैं पूछूंगा अभी 10 और निकल के आएंगे तो एक और बताओ
क्या
तुम अच्छा
चीज?
सा एक और another instance that you remember from your daily hustle of 0 to 1.
Ah, oh, you want more instances?
Yes, I want more instances. These are the things, no, these are the real
Oh
stuff which
God,
actually
Sarthak, don't make me open my mouth. I'm telling you. Like, I think in the
okay.
last 3.5 years, I have a minimum of 300 stories that I can keep telling you.
Okay, then tell me the most amazing story you remember. Most amazing story.
Oh God. So okay. So I mean, there are so many of them. Yeah. I mean, छोटी छोटी चीजें, like I mean, I can be nasty as well. Let me tell you about my nasty side.
Okay.
बहुत हो गया, like Kameshwari the good girl. Let me tell you about the nasty side.
Okay.
So even people who are in difficult situations, when they
Hmm.
can, that कन्नी काटना वाला situation जहाँ पे मौका मिले,
Okay.
अरे छोड़ो यार नहीं करते हैं
हाँ,
types,
I guess.
ये
हाँ,
होता है. And
हाँ.
like they would be like जो काम they can actually do, ऐसा नहीं है कि they can't do, but just that
Hmm.
हाँ free मिल रहा है, तो usually थोड़ा सा complacence आ ही जाता है लोगों में.
Right.
So, like, there was this one particular order
Hmm.
where they had to work with a particular shimmery, like, slightly, how should I put it, softer fabric. See, usually
Right.
cotton fabrics are the easiest to stitch, but if you have to
Right.
work with a jalidar fabric or something like that, it gets it
Hmm.
challenging. And they were
Right.
like, "We don't want to do this." And I was like, ये तो होगा, I have committed. Because my
Hmm.
problem is, it is not my commitment. क्या फर्क पड़ता है, मैं कस्टमर को जाके बोल सकती हूँ भैया माफ कर दो, we can't do
Hmm.
it, that is not a big
Hmm.
problem. But at the end of
Right.
it, जो पैसा आ रहा है इनका सैलरी देने के लिए वो चाहिए ना. I mean,
Right.
if I don't push them, they will
Uh,
obviously be happily, like, staying back. So I said, no, we're doing it. एंड दे वर
right.
लाइक ऐसे होगा मैडम, ये होगा मैडम, मुझे टेलरिंग का टी भी नहीं पता. मैंने कहा चलो मैं
हाँ,
बैठ रही हूँ. I said I'm sitting with you, but we are doing it,
हाँ,
right? And like we did it. And I didn't do it finally. They were like, Jesse, when you are the senior most person there, and when you say I
हाँ,
am sitting down to do it, I will learn tailoring now and do it. थोड़ा सा तो
हाँ,
like conscience जाग ही जाता है, and they did it. They
हाँ,
do.
हाँ, हाँ,
And like the next day when we delivered, and then I asked them next day कि भैया क्या हुआ था बताओ? Why were
हाँ,
you saying you can't do? So they were
हाँ.
like, ma'am, it was slippery, ma'am, it was this, ma'am. I was like, क्या बोल रहे हो यार? In the end, आप ही लोगों ने करके दिया. And believe me, we were supposed to deliver that in the evening sometime. This was same, that
Hmm.
whole, usually Diwalis are our, like, interesting times.
Right.
So, like, we were supposed to deliver in the evening.
हाँ,
नहीं हो पाया.
हाँ.
And this was basically a
Right.
pottery in which people were packing dry fruits.
Right.
And that time Balaji was still not there. Huh? This is, I think, the first Diwali or the second Diwali since we started the organization. And I
Mm-hmm.
drove. I drove from there at 2 o'clock in the night,
Oh my God.
handed over to the customer. And this, they were sitting and packing. Fortunately, they had volunteers and all. I sat there
Right.
and थोड़ा थोड़ा टाइम उनके साथ स्पेंड करके मैंने कहा माफ कर दो भैया दे दिया. So many such things. There was another customer, basically a
Hmm.
Rotarian, like, he wanted some pouches to be done. Next
हाँ.
morning, he had an event. And I
Right.
think the most challenging part about that pouch was not the stitching, the dhaga,
हाँ.
the dhaga that needs to be put inside it, like, for it to be the string that goes in.
Right.
That was the
Right.
most challenging part, most time taking.
Hmm.
We had to deliver. We were supposed to deliver by night, the previous night, because they wanted early in the morning.
Right. Right.
Obviously, we couldn't do. गांव में तो हो
Hmm.
ही नहीं सकता था. मेरे
Right.
हस्बैंड को बिठाया. मेरे
हाँ
दोनों बच्चों को बिठाया. We have a lady who
हाँ
lives in my house. She sat. I was
हाँ
obviously there. Then there was
हाँ
Balaji. Then there's another guy who helps us with sales and all that. Ajay karke.
हम्म,
He's a visually impaired guy.
ओके
He हम 6 लोग बैठ के we was
हाँ
drinking all the 250 and we delivered to रात को 12 बजे I went to that Rotarian's house and I said forgive me sir लेट हो गया ले लो.
हाँ
Things like that. So I am so nasty that I can push my husband, my kids, everything. I can bully them into it. Okay, it's not even like requesting and begging.
माय
I'm like,
गुडनेस
we have done all that. So ऐसे तो मतलब पता
हम्म
नहीं कितनी कहानियां हैं. अगले दिन सुबह डिलीवर होना है, रात को बैठ के सारा pouches and the same kit that we are doing now. We had done a
हाँ
preparation before. सुबह डिलीवर होना
हाँ
है. पैकिंग नहीं
हम्म,
हुई है, ट्रिमिंग नहीं हुआ है बिकॉज़ लास्ट मिनट ऑर्डर था। तो एक
हाँ
बंदा बैठ के आँख फोड़-फोड़ के वो छोटे-छोटे धागे दे आर कटिंग द धागास, the other guy is
हाँ
folding, putting it inside. My the lady who lives with us, her name is Lakshmi. She is
राइट
like closing the pouch. चल रहा
हम्म
है। तो रातों रात मतलब we have done some things. पिछला दिवाली, I'm sorry, I can go on as I said. We had an order for,
हम्म
so somebody, a friend of mine works in NASCOM, who used to work in
राइट
NASCOM, and she
ओके
said she wanted some 80 Diwali return gifts. क्या दे सकते हो?
ओके
ठीक है
हाँ
भैया, अब हमारे पास, IBIS had given us some empty beer bottles. हमने
हाँ
कहा चलो बियर बॉटल का कुछ करते हैं, क्या करेंगे भैया,
हम्म
उसको नाइट लैम्प बनाएंगे. सो वी फाउंड सम सॉल्यूशन. उसका उसमें बीड्स वगैरह लगाया, उसको डेकोरेट किया, सब किया, सब कुछ हो गया, टाइम पे आ गया
हम्म
सामान, प्रोडक्ट हमारे पास आ गया, पैकिंग नहीं
हम्म
हुआ था.
हम्म
फिर से लगी पूरी फैमिली, बच्चों के साथ, और there were so many elements that had to go in कि like they were, my husband was standing there. अच्छा ये गया
हम्म
वो गया. It was a scene to view, I'm telling you. मतलब इतना
ओह
ऐसे तो मतलब होते ही हैं, like this is, I'm sure many entrepreneurs would have stories like these, especially those who
डेफिनेटली
are
डेफिनेटली
introverts. But yes, so
लाइक
then that is where I'm very nasty. I don't give them time. In fact, Sangeeta told me
हम्म
the other day, Kameshwari, तुमको
राइट
सिर्फ ये नजर आता है कि at the end of that money, but you don't know how much pressure the team goes under. I said,
हाँ
yes, I understand that. But then if we don't
हाँ
undergo that pressure, at the end of
हाँ
that month, there is no money.
हाँ
Sometimes I overcome it, of course, which is a
राइट
learning. So somebody, that 60 bags is a good example. It was a stretch.
हम्म
So, the team had to get it done. Then they had to put it in रातों रात उसको वहाँ लोकल बस में डाल के हमको यहाँ मंगाना था. सुबह सुबह
हम्म
बैठ के प्रिंटर के दुकान में उसके सामने बैठ के बेटा तो अभी प्रिंट करके दे उसके सर पे सवार होके. So it's a stretch, isn't it?
Stress, it's a definitely a
So
stress, but then the thrill is there. I mean, it's all about the thrill, it's all about the feeling. I mean, you already put in a very good manner that, गाड़ी स्पीड में चलाना पसंद है, लेकिन इसका थ्रिल अलग है.
that is there. That is absolutely there. यार even if I
गाड़ी
drive that Maruti 800 को मैं 120 पे चला के भी वो मजा नहीं आएगा जो इसमें आता है.
बेचारी की टांगे टूट जाएंगी 120 पे चलाओ.
Exactly. But I have done it. I have pushed the Maruti 800 to that level. नहीं
माय
Maruti, हाँ,
गुडनेस.
Maruti 800 ही था. Not Zen.
इतनी की ऑल्टो थी, याद कर लो.
Um, पहला 800 था, then there was a Alto भी था, maybe one of them, यार, I don't know. I think my memory is probably failing, but I have pushed my vehicles to 120, 140 तो मैं सारे व्हीकल को पुश करती हूँ.
भाई
एंड
साहब.
यस उसके बाद वो सर्विसिंग के लिए गई तो लंबा चक्कर लगा था. दैट्स डिफरेंट स्टोरी.
माय
बहुत लंबा
गुडनेस.
बिताया था, बहुत
माय
लंबा
गुडनेस.
बिताया
बहुत लंबा, ऑब्वियसली आधा ही था. आधा ही था.
था.
ओके
And
ओके.
that poor man of a husband
ओह
चुपचाप
माय गॉड.
दे
मैं तो इसलिए स्टेप इन कर ही रहा था, मुझे पता था मैं, वो तो बेचारे कुछ बोला ही नहीं होगा उन्होंने तो.
वो मतलब of course he gets a little upset, he'll have a sullen face for a day or two, but then after
हाँ
that he has, लेकिन अब उनको आदत सी पड़ गई है. He's like I'm laughing at nowadays his dialogue, favorite dialogue, हंसते हैं किसी बात पे, मैं पूछूंगी
हाँ
क्यों हंस रहे हो, बोलते हैं मैं हंस रहा हूँ अपने सिचुएशन पे कि अब इसका मैं कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड करने वाला हूँ, तो हंस के कर देता हूँ, दैट इज द इजीएस्ट थिंग टू डू आई गेस.
That's great. That's really sweet. Okay, okay. So you had so many lovely instances and definitely lovely conversation. Now, if I ask you कि कामेश्वरी, I mean, वैसे तो कुछ बचा नहीं है, इतना कुछ तो बताया, but still मुझे ये बताओ कि have you seen failure in this thing? You definitely have seen some failure or some hurdle, very big hurdle. So when you started so late in the age span and doing so much and still learning, growing every day and everything. So tell me the biggest hurdle or the failure you have seen and what have you learned with that?
See, I'll tell you what, in our work, because we are so small an entity, we don't have any marketing abilities. We don't
Right,
have anyone who can actually connect with the customer directly.
right,
So we are dependent on intermediaries. Okay.
right,
And that's what we have been very fortunate as in, like, they have been intermediary organizations which have given us good orders and all that stuff.
right.
But with one of the entities, I had a very nasty experience. I mean, this is something that keeps happening. See, I
Right,
don't blame them. I don't blame any of them because everybody is like, like you said, survival instinct is your first
right,
instinct. And
right,
they are investing big time into the marketing aspect of it more than any of us, right? So their expenses
right.
are also more.
Exactly.
But when, but still, like, there are certain things that one needs to keep in consideration. And that
Hmm.
doesn't happen always. Like, they're not always mindful of the other's situation or need. So, yeah, I mean, we have had situations where, I mean, I had to kind of, call off a couple of partnerships because of this sort of, them not understanding our situation and lived in fear कि अब पता नहीं इतना बड़ा partnership I'm letting go and like I don't know how things would turn out, but again God's grace we have survived so far. But
Hmm.
what I'm trying to say here is that saying that you want to really work with uh, grassroots organizations and really support the artisans, you
Hmm.
have to also respect that, like even that organization has their own limitations and commitments, and one
Right.
has to be realistic. I think I was telling somebody recently कि भैया एक पूरी रिसर्च होनी चाहिए कि कस्टमर जब ऑर्डर प्लेस करता है ना, especially when you're working with human based organizations, you need to
Hmm.
remember that there will be unexpected challenges. Like I
Exactly.
said a little earlier, power cut, not in our control, yeah. जनरेटर नहीं होता है हर बार. And every day I hire a generator, it is 1,200 rupees a day, which is, like I said, four people का एक दिन का remuneration. Right? So one
Right.
needs to be a little cognizant of these facts, and we have had several challenges. Again, like I was telling you all these stories, I can go on and on about those stories, but honestly, I don't really want to focus on that because
Hmm.
whatever said and done, however challenging, however difficult things might be, that is our survival today. Like I
Right.
said, we do not have direct connect with anyone in the markets, like the corporates and all that. This 1,20,000 baskets that we are making is through another
Hmm.
entity, right?
Right.
So there will always be such challenges, and again, like money has always been a big problem. Payments don't come on time. Corporates take their own sweet time. The intermediary entities take their own sweet time to pay you.
Right.
So, like today, my biggest challenge is that I know February 5th I'll be able to pay the salary. I don't know about
Right.
March today. I don't have any visibility to March. Whatever conversations I'm talking are about all, there are a lot of individuals who are willing to help, want to do so much, but they are
Right.
individuals. They can only do
Right.
so much. They're all starting up themselves.
Hmm.
right? As on date, I'm at least having 10 conversations with 10 individuals who have very creative ideas of production. They want production support. I'm more than happy to provide that. But they are also starting up, so they will not have the kind of money that is required to sustain us, right?
Right.
So, so things like that. There are challenges to hote hain, yaar. I mean, there are quite a few challenges. I remember when, my husband's heart attack को ही ले लो सबसे बड़ा सिचुएशन वही मेरा चैलेंजिंग था पहला
Right.
मंथ अगले महीने मुझे सैलरी देनी है यहाँ पे हस्बैंड कंटिन्यूअसली 2-3 पढ़ रहे हैं आज एक हुआ मतलब 2 हफ्तों के बाद दोबारा हार्ट अटैक हो गया we are running around hospitals. I don't know what is going to happen. There are 3 surgeries that happened on him. Despite all that, we had to kind of, ensure that the salaries are paid. That
Hmm.
was a very big challenge for me. When the husband is on the surgery table, at that time we didn't have any team at all. I was the only one. So I would run all
Hmm.
the way to the villages, disburse their salaries, and return back before he's out of the surgery.
Right.
So there have been challenges like that, and like I said, my biggest challenge and fear today is what about the next month? Once I have a ATG, will
Hmm.
I be able to raise funds actually?
Hmm.
What is the guarantee? Just because I have an ATG, at the most, my husband thankfully is in a good position, so he has friends who are in very good positions. They might say कि चलो 10-20 हजार महीने का हम आपको दे देंगे. But will
Right.
that be enough? Will that be enough?
Hmm.
So ATG is a tax exemption certificate, so उसके लालच में हो
Yeah.
सकता है 10 लोग और आगे आ जाए. But that will not be enough for us to make that 0 to 1 to move to 2. We
Right.
started with 15 with zero investment, zero orders. Today we are in a position which I would want to look at zero as one, but I'm not very sure. It could be just zero point 0.5 for all we know. But
Hmm.
if we want to make sure those 25 are sustaining and we are able to
Right.
support another 25 at
Hmm.
least,
Right.
how do we go about it? Unless we get the orders, unless we are able to invest in creative people. Today Sangeeta is my creative director. I call her
Right.
creative director. She's
Okay.
my creative director. She does all the
Uh,
creative work for us.
uh,
So we are making this every month. She's trying to bring out a new product, but
hmm.
product तो आ रहा है, but who is seeing it? Where are they seeing it? Instagram page she is trying to run. We have 254 people on Instagram. The same
Right.
254 people cannot keep buying. And out of that,
Right.
25% are people who are trying to make business out of my business.
Right.
They are either, social media influencers or they are product designers or product makers themselves. So I
Hmm.
am left with maybe 100 people who would want to buy my products. कितनी बार कितने महीने कितने लोग खरीदेंगे बताओ नहीं होगा right so that's how things are but like I said खड़े हैं अब देखो जब तक जड़े हैं खड़े हैं बाद में देखा जाएगा
My God, this is struggle is.
I don't even know if I answered your question Asartak you asked something about challenges and I don't know where I
No,
went
but
off
then you also answered many other questions. Like what you also answered that what are you currently struggling with? I was thinking that I'll ask you what I'm currently struggling with. You already said that. So you answered a lot of questions, and those are like real life questions, giving real insights into the ongoing life of an entrepreneur who's actually thinking कि मैं अगले महीने salary दे पाऊंगा नहीं दे पाऊंगा. So
दिस इज माय फेवरेट डायलॉग अब मेरे पास सोना भी नहीं बचा बेचने के लिए All I'm left with is a tiny little nose stud that is sitting on my nose. उसमें से 100 रुपया भी नहीं निकलेगा. So we have no
right.
choice. We have absolutely no choice but to
Hmm.
make more products, sell
Hmm.
them, convert them into money, and pay the artisans. We have absolutely no choice. ठीक है so
When you
that is our
say
reality
that, I know when you say that, no, that हमने सोना बेच दिया है तो ऑन दिस नहीं ऑन दिस नोट पता है मैं ये नहीं बोलता कि मेरे पास बहुत सारा गोल्ड वोल्ड कुछ है घर वालों का तो पता नहीं मुझे ऑनेस्टली बट when someone asks me on this note, na कि what do you think यार हाँ, तो क्या करूँ मैं बहुत लोग आके मुझसे पूछते हैं क्या करूँ मैं I'm like यार खुद को बेच दो not in the no puns intended but
Yeah,
I'm like कि खुद को बेच दो जब खुद को बेचने पे जाओगे तो एक ही चीज बेच सकते हो या तो ज्ञान बेचोगे या कुछ काम सीख के
yeah,
बेचोगे
exactly.
when you do that so I have a very strong belief in this that you need to sell yourself. You are the product. Even when you're working as an employee at any place, you are the product.
Hmm.
You're selling yourself. So when you're talking about entrepreneurship, do anything. Just sell yourself. When probably in
I
that,
don't know how to do that, Sarthak. I think I'm looking for a teacher there. I really don't know how to go and all I can do is talk about. Just if you're asking me something, I can tell you 100 stories, but
right,
stories is not going to kind of convert into business. So I really don't know.
right,
I'm as I said, I don't have any practical to chhod do. I don't have even theoretical knowledge of how business is done. So अभी instinct पे
right.
चल रहा है. Let's see how long it goes like this. But I've been lucky. Like see, I had zero knowledge
Uh,
about creativity. Sangeeta came into picture. And
right.
I have zero knowledge about finance management. There's another gentleman called Sushanto, who used to be a CFO, and he is now doing
Okay.
something on his own. He is helping us out with all the financial management. I don't have
Mm,
a funding, someone who can fund me. My husband is there, so
mm.
all I'm doing is sitting here. People are coming. एंड वन बाय वन जिसको जहाँ जैसे जुड़ने का मन करे प्लीज जुड़ो और काम को आगे बढ़ाओ दैट्स इट
No, no, no. I
इससे
mean,
ज्यादा
this
there's
is
nothing.
something very noble that you're doing, and I am just want to request the listeners that guys, whosoever is listening to this end, पहले बात तो मुझे पता है 2.5 घंटा बहुत कम लोग पहुंचोगे, but whosoever reaches this end at 2:29 or probably 2:30, whatever you listen at that, but please support Hosa Belaku Artisans. Okay, first thing, go on their website, buy their products, and support them. This is very noble cause, and like when I'm talking to social entrepreneurs, I just get this vibe that the grit is there, and the grit is only to help people. And I can. This is so much relatable. Like I think a lot about it. I want to do it in my own ways. I'm still way too behind to be very honest from my goals when the way I want to do it because everyone has their own ways. I would say that. So I'm still way too behind that, but please do support in whatever way it's possible for you guys. I would request you. And with that said, I don't think so. There's much that I would want to ask you because you've already told me so much, and I guess if we want, we can have another session, right? Where we can have ample number of stories.
No.
है ना? We can definitely have another session, but you already said so much, so many things, and so well that जरूरत ही नहीं है मेरे को कुछ पूछने की मैं इससे ज्यादा कुछ बोल ही नहीं सकता रेस्ट इज हिस्ट्री
Rest is
रेस्ट
history.
इज हिस्ट्री
No, 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 not rest is history, Sarthak. Here I want to say something else.
हाँ जी
Let's make history. Let's
हाँ
make
लाइक
history.
लेट्स
आपने अभी
मेक
जो एक
हिस्ट्री
बात कही ना कि intent, I mean, your intent is something, but you're way behind. Boss, intent is the thing that one needs to have. उसके बाद चीजें अपने आप होती हैं. Okay, you have the intent, that's more than enough. Just stay with your intent. Just I mean, just bind yourself to that intent, things will fall into place. I'm sure. I see, honestly speaking, I don't know what a podcast is and what it does and how many people it is going to reach, what we are
राइट
talking and why we are talking. I hardly understand. I'm very naive as far as these things are concerned.
राइट राइट
But
राइट
but one thing I'm very sure that, once something goes out into the universe, there is always something that comes back. So I'm very sure there's something very positive that's going to come back. And what you're trying to do is really good. I mean, at least see, इतनी बातें आज तक मेरे से किसी ने ना पूछी ना किसी ने सुनी. For that I bless you.
थैंक यू
Forget
सो
my
मच
pain and all. किसी ने बैठ कर आज तक, even my husband for that matter, कि बता तेरे लाइफ में क्या हो रहा है, किसी ने नहीं पूछा. ठीक है, because we're seeing it every day, so why will he even ask? But what I'm trying to say is that itself So while I'm talking to you, there's so many things that are running through my head, like
Mm.
this could have been done like that, or this is what we need to do. Oh, you know what, I have to talk to this person. बहुत सारी चीजें when we are talking, it
I
comes
know.
out. So thank you so much for that.
And
So yeah, I'm sure
I
your intent will,
so much. Thank you so
and
much.
your intent will find a Ferrari race very soon.
I really hope so. I really hope so. My
It will,
goodness.
it
So
will, it will.
before I wrap it up, right? Firstly, tell me, like, out of your experience, if you have to give out a business mantra, what would that be?
Just hang in there. That's all. Just hang in
Persistence.
there. Things will fall into place. Things will happen. Um, just hang in there, man. See, I was listening to somebody,
Mm.
some, some very profound speakers, one of those spiritual gurus, and he was talking
Right,
about this, the fern and the bamboo shoot, right?
right, right.
Fern ka seed turns into a plant in a day or two. A
Ah,
bamboo shoot takes 5 years. A bamboo seed takes 5 years to start shooting out of
right.
the earth. Okay.
Okay.
So everything takes its own sweet time. Nothing, I mean,
Mm.
not always everything is in our control. Things are in our control. There are a lot of things that we can do on our own. I'm not saying it's everything is fate and, so no action is required. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just
Right.
saying that, just hang in there. All you need to know in your heart is that what you're doing is valuable. That's it. Things will happen. I don't know if it is business mantra. I don't know what it is, but this is what it
Oh,
is.
this honestly, this motivated me a lot right now, also for a lot of stuff that I am doing in life right now. So this just motivates me again. So
You're
some
just
things
very
that
kind, you know that, Sarthak?
thank you so much.
You're just
Thank you so
tremendously
much.
kind.
Thank you. So guys, I hope that this business mantra is help you a lot, and all I can say is that on this note, since this is a very recent news, I would love to quote because this has been running in my head, and this would be really I would like to, have it in my head, just spit it out. So you definitely know Elon Musk, right?
Oh, yeah. Who
Yes.
doesn't?
So yes, exactly. Who doesn't? The point that
Yeah.
I want to quote is that if you read Elon Musk's biography, there's the
Uh,
point where SpaceX was about to die down. Okay, they were totally running out of cash, and I guess the last they bought all the cash and everything, and the last Falcon was about to launch, and as soon as the Falcon launched, it went in space successfully. The next news that came in was they got funding from NASA of $1,000 billion.
See, that's what I'm
So
saying. That's exactly what I'm
it's
saying.
hanging in there, and look at it honestly, quoting on this, and just putting it in the another terms, like what uh, Kameswari is doing right now, and adding values to people's life. Elon Musk is just trying to do it on a very humongously large scale, and when
Absolutely.
you're doing that at such a large scale, things turn out. I mean, I'm just putting up a comparison right now. So
Yeah.
Bezos is serving to millions of customers right now, and then he has got his wealth. On the
Yeah.
contrary, Musk is trying to save millions and billions of people by taking people
Mhm.
to Mars and whatnot, and now he's the richest person. Let's say even if he stays there for some time, okay. But what
Mhm.
I want people to think in terms of businesses, Musk has got 2 to 3 businesses like SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City, right? They are there. And I just might be forgetting one or two, probably. But on the contrary, you look at Amazon, whatnot, AWS to deliveries to technical
Yeah.
consumer, and all sectors are there. That is where his wealth lies. Now compare the
Mhm.
number of products, which has a
Mhm.
bigger motive. The bigger the
Yeah.
motive, the bigger the value, the bigger the results.
Yeah. What I
That
said about hang in there, Sarthak, was not just said like that. 3 months ago, I was in that same situation where I was like, should I shut it down or should we
uh,
continue? Because continuing meant shelling down, bringing in. Because, like I said, it was like 3 months ago that I sold my last goal, and after that, there was nothing
uh,
left. So I was talking to my husband, said कि भैया बंद करते हैं because अब कुछ बचा नहीं. And
uh,
then we got this order of 1,20,000 and we were able to sustain for 3 months. So Vesa, what I'm saying is when I say hang in there, I'm saying because it was done by us and we have experienced it that I am saying this. So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
I
I
think
understand.
hanging in there
I
helps sometimes.
understand this thing. This has a huge meaning. Persistence, hanging in there, all one and the same thing. Just stay there.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
goodness, this has been such a lovely conversation. I have no words to wrap up and say or justify the kind of person that Kameswari you are. The things that you can pick up from her is definitely grit, persistence. There's no age to start something. Just add value to people's life. You will get there. That's all I would want to say. And yes, one more thing, as we discussed in my last podcast also, if the episodes definitely turn out in the series, but the more the number of people you try, the bigger it gets, and the ideas lie around you. I mean, every story justifies it. All
True.
entrepreneurial idea are inside you, they lie around you. Just try and see them. It's gonna be difficult. It might take a lot of time, but they are around there. Just stay there.
Yeah.
With that said, I've already told what you have to pick up. And before I wrap up, uh, guys, please help Kameswari. Hosa Belaku Artisans.org is the website. You can find them on Instagram and all the other platforms. Do buy for them. Just start contributing. It's necessary. You are helping someone. Go
Just
with that mindset.
start liking our social media pages. I'm sure we'll reach somewhere.
Exactly, just do that. I'll share it
Yeah,
myself today,
yeah.
and I know I'll just keep on sharing it. So yes, I hope it helps somewhere, and I'll also ask my team to share it today itself. So let's hope it just goes out,
Thanks.
right? And the last thing that we do, Kameswari, before we end, we all ask all our guests to recommend us another entrepreneur whom you think has an inspirational journey, and they should come on the show and talk about it. So whom would you recommend?
Um, so I have a friend. Um, his name is Naveen. And I think I would like to recommend him because, again, he's also from the similar sectors in development sector. This
Right.
pandemic put a setback, but he did not lay lie and wait for the difficulties to wind up. He has started something very new and very different, as in not very different in terms of product
Mhm.
wise, but what he's doing is amazing. Beautiful pots. These
Okay.
are planters and stuff like that, but they're not like regular planters and stuff. So you should speak to him, then you would know what I'm talking about. And he's doing
Definitely.
tremendously. So I think for being a very new startup, the amount of traction he's already got, there's a huge potential there. So I think I'd like to
That's
recommend. I'll share his details with you, Sarthak, separately.
please true.
I don't
Please
have it
true.
offhand. Yeah.
No worries, no worries. Please do, and I'll make sure that we get him on the show, and please do connect me with him, and then I'll share both of the links with each other so that you can guys can listen and share it as well. And with that
Mhm.
said, yes, we are at the end. I am wrapping it up. Otherwise, guys, एक और podcast निकालूंगा जिसमें तो बता देना मैं कामेश्वर को फिर से बुला के and we'll just talk about the instances and nothing else. ठीक है और फिर हम सबको बुलाएंगे we'll also call the husband, we'll also call the and ask them कि
Oh
how
God.
was it, we'll call in the full family and talk about the experiences. So yes, I want to thank you so much Kameshwari for coming in. It was such a
Thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you, such an amazing experience, such
Thank you.
amazing stories. I mean, I don't have much words. मैं हर बार amazing बोलता हूँ, मेरे पास सच कोई word है नहीं यार. भगवान एक नया पैदा कर दो प्लीज यार. But
No,
yeah,
thank you
that's
so much. I mean, see, one does whatever they do, right? But it's not always that if anybody at all is even listening to what is happening to them. So you have been a tremendous listener. I'm sure your listeners are tremendous themselves. So I thank you for the opportunity. I mean, for even if it is 100, 200, or 1,000 people, at least there are so many that are listening. So that means a lot. So thank
thank
you
you.
so, so very much.
Thank you so much, Kameshwari, for coming on the show, and I really look forward to meeting you someday, coming down South India, and
Same
meeting you
here.
personally. And whenever you come to Delhi, please do let me know. I would love to meet you once. And yes,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. See
Absolutely.
you
Thank
soon. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
I hope that you're able to take back something insightful from this podcast and apply it in your life to be a better version of yourself and add to your Dhandho Ni Soch. If you know someone whom you think should feature on my podcast and has a very inspiring entrepreneurial journey, then do drop me a DM on my Instagram, SarthakVarshny. Sarthak Varshney. Yeah, that's me. I'm the founder of SV Clicks, and SV Clicks is the producer of this show. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn as well with the same name. If you're willing to listen to more of such unheard, inspiring stories of the entrepreneurs, then don't forget to follow us by pressing that follow button on your podcast screen. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Keep learning, keep growing. We'll be back soon. See ya.